Hello, everyone. We're live to talk a bit about the Star Wars Expanding Universe and how it pertains to today, the 10-year anniversary of decanonization. And we've got some wonderful people with us today. We've got Magneno Alex, who's been a longtime guest on the channel, my older brother in the EU fandom. He's been with me since forever ago. We've got Kristian, who I knew a very long time ago when I was like 11 or 12, and we reconnected recently. It's been really great to get to know him all over again. We've got Arthur, who's a huge friend of the channel. He's making some great stuff over on his channel as well. Had the pleasure to meet him at Legends Con. Great guy. And we've got Robert as well, who has an incredible voice and narrates the trailer for Supernatural Encounters, as well as work on the audio drama as well. And all of these gentlemen participated in the EU 10 Years group project that we released earlier today, and it had a great reception, and I think it was really, really well received, and really great point for everyone to kind of rally behind today. And yeah, thank you to all of you for helping with the project and contributing to it. Really appreciate it. At this point, I'd like to open up a kind
I'm getting some mad background noise. I don't know if
yeah, I'm hearing that as well. Here, let me see if that's me.
It's not you. It's not me either.
All right, here, I'll mute.
Oh yeah, it's Arthur.
I think it's Arthur, yeah.
How do I fix that?
Let's see. On your settings, is the settings for your mic. If you go to the settings, is it like your computer mic or is it an external mic? You can fiddle around with that. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Of course, it doesn't pop up until we go live.
Yeah, it was fine for like 20 minutes of talking.
Arthur, if you go into the settings for StreamYard, in the audio section, there should be an option that says reduce mic background noise.
Yeah, you can use that as well.
Michael Lynch says, random stream, but I'm still working on the other video. It is 6 hours long. I will say, just a fun little thing. Hopefully I wasn't annoying to these people, but I did send a message to Michael Kogi and to Troy Denning, both of which acknowledged me. And
Troy Denning?
Yes, I did. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I don't know why he accepted the friend request, but he did. He accepted Maxine, so I figured I'd try as well. So Michael Kogi just said, wow. That was his response to me. That was funny. And then Troy Denning said, really cool. I'll check it out when I have the time. So that's really cool.
That's so cool.
Also, Del Rey got back to me as well because I sent them a link to it as well. So they said, thanks for the, I forget what they said, but they were just like, we'll check it out. So
Arthur, do you want to unmute and test to see if it's working now?
You're still muted.
Yeah.
It's on the bottom tab on the left. I don't hear any background noise now.
Yeah, sounds like it's reduced.
Is there still a little bit?
Nope, I don't hear it at all.
Oh, that's better.
Good job.
Okay.
We can hear you fine now.
That was must have been all I did was the thing Robert said. Thanks,
Nice.
guys.
Yeah, it was Typho Gem was sending his shadow creatures to try to mute Arthur, but we fended them off.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. We had to
Typho
fight back
Gem.
against those emissaries of the charnel worlds of darkness, but
You vanquished the fiends.
yes. So today is, as we've talked about at length, 10 years of the Expanding Universe being decanonized, discontinued. Now, I did not discover the EU until after it was already decanonized. I know that's the same for Alex and Arthur, but Kristian and Robert, I believe, were fans of it prior to
Yes,
its decanonization. Is that correct?
that is correct.
Yes, that's right.
So, if you guys want to talk maybe a bit about
the return of the background noise.
It doesn't sound terrible though. I can hear a little bit, but we can roll on.
You guys go on, and I'll mess around with my other mic. Let's see here.
Okay. So for you guys, you might have a perspective that's somewhat different than ours, because when me and Arthur and Alex got to it, it was kind of already gone. So in that regard, have you guys seen some things like changing the fandom, like obviously in relation to the change for the universe since it was decanonized? What's your perspective like on decanonization? Do you remember where you were when you found out that it was being decanonized?
I remember where I was. I mean, I don't. I just, the main emotion I had was just confusion, because I'm definitely different now, as far as I feel like if it had happened at this point, I would have a different reaction. But at the time, I was so confused because I didn't understand the concept of just trashing something that had been like just ongoing and with stories being told for that long. Like, that was crazy to me. I was like, wait, so I'm not, like, all this time I've spent invested into all these like bits of lore, because I would show up to school and I'd be the guy where people would be like, hey, Kristian, you're a nerd, do you know what this is? Like, tell me about Kashyyyk. And I'm like, yeah, actually, you know, there's these things called like Kinrath spiders or whatever the heck, and I get the names wrong, and I would still like nerd out about all these little creatures and all these planets and all this stuff. And it felt so like the wind had been taken out of my sails, because I was like, oh, so all that time I've spent investing into all this lore just is useless now. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, I just felt so dejected. And I mean, I'm kind of used to it at this point, because I'm a big Dragon Ball fan too, and that kind of happened in a lot of ways with that, as far as some of that lore.
Dragon Ball GT is canon.
I mean,
I don't care what anybody says.
It is
I love
me.
GT.
But yeah, I mean, at first I was upset, but then I was like, okay, all right, they want room to tell a story, right? Like, so I was okay with it under the terms and conditions of what they were going to give us was at least equal to the stories they were putting off to the side. And so as soon as it became very clear that that was not the case, that the stories that they were putting out and what they had replaced the EU with was not of an equivalent quality level, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, no, I'm good. I think I'm just going to stick with what I had invested my entire life into with Star Wars. Because again, it's night and day to me. Like, being a Star Wars fan, I think, has completely different meanings in a lot of ways as far as where your investment lies. Because again, if you're a Star Wars fan nowadays, like, what you're drawn to and the stories that you're paying attention to, it's a completely separate thing from when I was growing up and the things that I was paying attention to and the characters and everything. And so yeah, that was my reaction, was upset, then cautious optimism, then just acceptance of, okay, I'm gonna stick to what I know, and that's okay.
Robert, what was the transition like for you?
Well, I think I only found out afterwards, really. I heard about the fact that there was a new trilogy of films coming, and I can't remember if it was around the same time or shortly after that I learned that meant we wouldn't be getting any more EU. And I hadn't properly delved into all the comics, for example, at that point yet. But when I did, it made me realize, oh, so this this series here and this one here, those didn't get proper endings, and they won't. They just sort of stopped.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, because not on Dark Times, for example, not only is it really well written, but the artwork is fantastic. Oh, we've got Arthur back.
Howdy.
You hear me?
There we go. Yes.
You sound great.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Typha Gem can't hold us down.
No.
We'll overcome. Improvise, adapt, overcome.
So pre-makers shall help.
Yeah. Dark Times, Robert, I am a huge fan of Dark Times as well. It's the comic that I got my brother into. I mostly was able to pull it off because he's a huge Lord of the Rings Hobbit movie fan. So I was able to be like, hey, do you want to see Legolas with a lightsaber? And he was like, oh, okay. And so I got him to read the comic. And yeah, we're both very disappointed that there's really no ending there.
So he loses
what
to wash
happens
his
to
hair.
Dash Jenner? Yeah,
He's
he
no longer
chops it
Legolas.
off. Yeah. But it, like you said, it's a shame that it doesn't get a conclusion.
Alex,
Yep.
you named...
My dog's going crazy. What's up?
Damn, at this time of night, I'm really not good at remembering names. Your favorite character?
My second favorite character, Zane Carrick.
Zane Carrick, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. I shouldn't have forgotten that. But
Yeah,
yes, I think for me, I would definitely agree with that. But Das Jenner would also be one of my favorites.
Oh, I love to hear that.
I think the two certainly have some similarities between them. Personality-wise, they're very different, but they're both... Neither of them are especially powerful, so they have to sort of find other ways to get out of trouble when they run into it.
Yes. That's very interesting analysis. I hadn't linked that, but as soon as you said that they were somewhat similar, I knew exactly where you were going with that. Because they're not like the Anakin Skywalker or even like an Ahsoka Tano level of power where they can just get out of any situation with their force power or lightsaber. They really have to work for it.
Yes.
And there's no small amount of luck involved in both of their escapades as well, it seems like.
Yes. Although you could argue in Zane's case, it looks like luck, but actually isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Oh man, those are such good comics. When that omnibus came out, oh my goodness, has it already been 3 years since that big hardcover omnibus came out? I just read it cover to cover like I was reading a book in just a day. The whole run. I was so excited. And those are such good comics. Those are such good storylines. Another question that I have for everyone is how do you regard this day in regards to maybe mixed emotions? Because obviously I feel now that it's something to celebrate because we have these great stories and they aren't going anywhere. So we can be happy about them. But at the same time, we don't have them actively being produced right now. So there might be also a bit of sadness as well. What's the mix like for all of you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this year is definitely different from past years as far as it's nice to have a community of people to actually turn it into more of a celebration as opposed to a mourning, but I mean, the past 10 years, I always just again reminded of, dang, these unfinished stories and these character arcs that I can't see ended, and I definitely when the day would roll around, just be like, okay, well, hopefully, they can bring in some of those plot threads and plot elements into the new canon because that's where the new content is. But nowadays, I'm more of the opinion of actually maybe leave the EU stuff out of what's coming out now, and I'll just be okay with enjoying what's already come out. I don't need it to be put into something I'm not gonna really be invested in anyways. But no, I love this right here. You know, like, this is great. Again, it being a celebration is definitely preferable, and that's what it should be, really.
Mm-hmm. Arthur?
Feelings mixed, especially watching the video. Mostly happy. I'd say lean toward happy, which is really interesting that the video is able to do that on a day that you'd think is sad.
Very much so. Robert?
Well, if I had to name one good thing that's come of it, it would be that I think the EU fandom is more united now than it's ever been.
Yeah,
for sure.
And your project is a good example of that, I think. Part of that could be, well, while the EU was actively happening, there were parts of it that weren't as appreciated then as they are now. The Crystal Star being a good example. That wasn't popular at the time, but since then, there are people who have really come around on it. And part of that is probably just enough time having passed, but also a case of, I think, not appreciating something until it's gone.
That's a good point, honestly, because for me, I wish I had been more aware of the community while the EU was still having new content being produced and being part of forums that were like, oh, what's going to happen in the next book that's coming out? What's going to happen in the next game? Like, because I was kind of more just solo invested in it at the time. And yeah, it's definitely unfortunate that I missed a lot of that forum browsing and leak, like, searching and whatnot, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I can't imagine what that would be like. Like, I was young. I was born in 2006, so I was only 8 when the EU was decanonized. So I didn't find it until I was 11. And even if I had found it before that, I don't know that I would have been online or allowed to participate in online forums talking about the books and comics and stuff. Unfortunately, my age just didn't align up. I think I wish I had been a 90s kid, because then I could have had Star Trek and the EU. And I think that would have been a good time to be alive. But, at the same time, like, just imagine, like, gearing up for, like, the next, like Legacy of the Force, 9 books, and then Fate of the Jedi, 9 books. Like, the excitement about, like,
Legacy of the Force,
happen.
that was actually one that I did do some forum browsing for, because I remember they had the vote on
for his name.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that was cool. That was one of the few times where I was like, oh, sick, I get to maybe have an effect on the universe in some small way. So I do remember that. That was awesome.
That is really cool. One thing that was cool about the EU that people like Christopher Nelson and Matt Wilkins have talked about, and I think Joe Bongiorno as well, kind of the difference in it, how it was versus how it is, like, currently. And it's like the fans had more of, like, an impact on what was going on. They had, like, more accessibility to the creatives.
Oh yeah,
is something that some people have said. Now, I've heard counter arguments for that as well. Like, there's some authors for the current DU who were, like, very active on Twitter talking with people back and forth, which is great to hear. But, like, back in the day, something that Michael Kogi said that I was thinking about is the adventure journals. If you were a fan, you could just submit a story to the adventure journal, and then that could be approved and put in. You could, like, a fan could just send in a short story and it could get, like, put into the lore. Like, that's so crazy.
I can't imagine that flying today. Like, maybe there's something I don't know about where they do that in some small way, but I can easily see that being a thing pretty consistently with how the community interacted with Lucasfilm at the time, and everyone that was involved with like publishing the stories. That's awesome. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, like that blew my mind too, because that short story that he wrote talked about Bacta and the Vratix species, and established the planet, the species, the Bacta itself. And then Michael Stackpole took that concept from the short story and ran with it for his X-Wing books.
Yeah, no, he was really good about that.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have had like the Bacta War without teenage Michael Kogi like writing a little short story about a concept he thought about and then having it published in an adventure journal. Like the effect that had on the universe, the like domino effect, like Bacta's just like I think that's in like the current continuity too. Like,
yeah,
I think that flipped over. Like it's wild that like all of the lore surrounding specifically the lore around the species who mined it and the planet itself that was used for it. All of that was like created by Michael Kogi, which is just so cool that like had a cascade effect. It's cool that a fan was able to influence the universe.
Well, yeah, and the cool part is like even beyond just like random fans submitting, ideas or storylines. I mean, the people actually making it were themselves fans, like at least like I feel like not to say that people making Star Wars now aren't fans, but just like they had like an investment that I don't think exists in the same way now. As far as like those like details that I don't know, like it hits different for sure.
Yeah. And like I think a good example of that would be like if you look to like Joe Bongiorno or John Whitman or Abel G. Pena, these people loved like even the wackiest pockets of the universe, even the most obscure stuff, like Robert said earlier, stuff that wasn't regarded as being that good back then. Like they liked it. And so these people were then writing stories that were incorporating all of that. They were like mega fans, basically, that got to play in the sandbox.
That's like the beauty of the expanding universe, though, is that, it didn't matter how silly or not well received it might have been by somebody else that was an author or a fans didn't take something well.
Praise War Room.
Yeah, somebody else could take that and make that, like I always use the example of Jedi Prince. It's a very silly series, not
Dude,
very
I love
serious,
it. I love
right? Yeah, but like Stover, when he wrote Shadows of Mindor, he had the character from the old Marvel comics, Black Hole, now Lord Chronal, or whatever you want to call him. But it was not only that; it was also, the prophets of Darkside. They did tell real prophecies when Black Hole was with them, but when Black Hole left to do his own thing, they were just making crap up, which explains Jedi Prince. But people believe them because they were already shown to be trusted because they used to tell truth. So it makes that more tolerable. So, and I love stuff like that. Embrace everything, make it fit, make it work. I mean, Jabba the Hutt has a dad that has dreads. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, why not?
So he does. Arthur has a really cool video talking about Jedi Prince, which was something that I hadn't like fully ever noticed. I'd only noticed like one example of it, like when I was reading through Jedi Prince, but he talks about like the environmentalism in Jedi Prince as well. So you have this like really silly story, but then you have like the authors put in actual messages into each of their books tackling different topics. Like I only remembered like, the whaling, for example. And then there's also the Hodin guy. Can't remember his name.
I can't remember either. That was the second book, though. That was Forest Fires. And
yeah.
The third one is Smog. Fourth one is Toxic Waste Dumping. The fifth one is less of an action scene, but there's one sentence that's like an exact scientific description of the greenhouse gas effect. Like I think it even says CO2.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find one in book 6. I'd be really interested if someone on a reread found one in book 6.
Maybe it was about the environmentalism of cloning individuals to shoot lasers out of their eyes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we got it.
Maybe it was the friends they made along the way.
Yeah, maybe. Dark Greetings.
Is it bad that when I was a kid and I read the Jedi Prince books, I because it would have pictures and I would see the scenes of them like eating the whale meat, and for some reason in my brain it looked like refried beans to me. So whenever I would eat refried beans, I'd pretend I was like Triclops or something, like eating whale meat. I don't even know what was going through my head, but there's some lore right there.
Okay.
That's my favorite thing I've heard about a Jedi Prince experience. Refried beans became, you were like, oh, I am Triclops now that I have refried beans.
He liked his beans, dog.
It's hard to add new talking points to the Jedi Prince series, but I think that's one.
Yeah, I mean, it's been overanalyzed, but I'd never heard the refried beans connection.
Well, dude, that's the plus of having artwork in those books, is I get to go wild with my little kid imagination, and even if it takes me in weird directions, I loved it. So
now I will say, that artwork is incredible in Jedi Prince.
With the filed teeth and the gun earrings. It's so stupid.
I love it so much. And oh man, like I wish that some of the novels would have little art pieces like that, because like you can picture stuff, but sometimes it's fun to have a visual depiction. Could they should have just hired that Jedi Prince illustrator to do an illustrated edition of all of the Bantam books that were around at the time. That would have been fun.
Adventures in Hyperspace, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Does anyone know if those little tree guys ever showed up again? I was kind of wondering that in the source book or something. I think it's the second book.
From Adventures in Hyperspace?
Yeah. Or is that the third one?
I think
the third one's the Jabba. Jabba replica.
The second one has those little like plant guys.
Yeah.
Did they even receive a species name?
I think so.
Okay, I can't remember. I can't remember.
I'll look it up later.
Yeah, you never know, because when you had Abel Gpini or Joe Bongiorno on the loose, there's no telling what what wacky stuff would be in the next online short story.
Yeah, I just came across Jebby in Supernatural Encounters.
Yes, I literally like cheered when I saw that and messaged Joe Bongiorno like immediately in all caps. He probably thought I was like manic.
I love that he's included in the group of species that is it Cold Dandelion? And
yes,
he's just messing with stuff, being artistic, being insane. Not insane, but
yeah, I know, it's wonderful. I'm pretty sure that everyone knows what the Jebby is at this point, but just in case, I'll pull up an image here real quick, because now that Arthur's mentioned it, I've always got to share the love of the Jebby. But here it is. This is the official image for the Jebby.
It's beautiful.
It was drawn by, of course, a 6-year-old or 7-year-old named Paul Rice for a Design an Alien contest.
Yes.
And
it's like looking in the mirror.
Yeah, and Leland Chi was asked like, "Hey, are the Design an Aliens canon?" Which only a Star Wars fan would ask. Hey, is this canon? But he said yes, it was. And then Jason Fry put their home planet called Rainbow in the Essential Atlas. And then Joe Bongiorno explains their origin and creation by Cold Dandelion in Supernatural Encounters. So I love the EU, man. Like, this is just great.
And that's just, again, that plays into the making the universe feel alive with these little details that no one had to do that, but here we are talking about Rainbow, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
When Robert is narrating Supernatural Encounters, you'll probably pause when you see the word Jebby, and you'll know that it's a crayon image drawn by a 6-year-old.
We'll just make it better.
Yeah. Absolutely. We've got some comments to catch on, and then to catch up on, and then I've got some more questions for everyone. But I'll just go through these real quick. We've got a full house here. Says Iron Inquisitor, Only Good Games is here. Did George Lucas read source books like the Complete Encyclopedia or the Essential Chronology? I know that he read a bunch of the West End Games stuff because he would recommend like to Dave Filoni to read a bunch of that source material. In fact, there's a picture of him in the writer's room for the Clone Wars, and there's like a stack of like West End Games source books behind him, and also some of those Del Rey like essential guide to characters stuff as well, if I recall correctly. So he was aware of some of the source material. I don't know if he was aware of the complete encyclopedia or not. Someone else might know that answer, but I'm not sure. But it is pretty cool that he was engaged, at least in some regards, to the source material. That is indeed cool. That friends with Troy Denning on Facebook.
Yeah, me next.
Awesome.
Man, me next.
Yeah, Alex, you're muted.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I don't know why he accepted. That's all I said, but he did. So
he just knew you were a cool dude. He just knew.
Maybe
he knew that.
I'll be reviewing his Halo books eventually.
He knew that He knew that you defended his Jason Solo arc decisions to Matthew Stover, and he was like, "Gotta accept this guy."
That's such a cool picture, though.
The picture of Alex like talking Matthew Stover's ear off.
Yeah, that was
absolutely
great.
Legendary.
There's a famous picture of me. Yeah, it's awesome. That's when my hair was crazy.
Yeah, long-haired Alex era.
Never coming back.
I think you should bring it back. Bring it out to here, Alex.
It doesn't. It just goes up.
Okay, then bring it up to here, Alex. We've got Marcel. Callum's in here. There's another disgruntled Dragon Ball GT fan.
It's because GT is base.
Oh yeah, dude, Super Saiyan 4 best transformation, like by far.
It looks so much. Okay, listen, Brennan. I know you don't care about anime, but like
I don't know anything
Dragon
about
Ball
it.
Super. So Saiyans are aliens. Okay.
Yeah,
They got these little super power ups. Okay?
Were they referenced in Supernatural?
Probably.
Yeah, they're actually part of the lore. They're part of the creation of the whole universe.
I'll add it. Just like Paw Patrol, I'll add that actually got blown up at one point. But yeah, so there's blonde hair. There's blonde hair, and then the body around it for Super Saiyan 2 is like got
electricity. Yeah.
Oh wait,
Super
I've seen the blonde guys with the like spiky hair and the muscles.
Yeah,
that's Super Saiyan. That's their like super powered form.
Oh, okay.
Super Saiyan 3, they get like no eyebrows and like a big ridge there, and then they get really long hair like you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But then
so I'm a Super Saiyan.
Yeah, you're Super Saiyan 3. But
cool.
Super Saiyan 4 has like this whole like cool like look where they got like fur and it's like red. I can't explain it, but it's really cool.
They revert to monkey because the Saiyans are like a monkey human hybrid race. Basically, they have tail. They're humans with like monkey tails.
And there's a bad guy named Frieza who likes to call them monkeys.
Oh yeah. There's a lot with that.
We're gonna get off of this, but I need to stress that Super goes, okay, instead of doing that Super Saiyan 4 design, which is a really cool design, let's just give the heroes red hair and blue hair and call it a day. Oh, and gray hair. And those are the power-ups.
Yeah.
So it was lame.
It was much less interesting because the having the final form of the Saiyans be an homage to their original Saiyan heritage and just being this like it's not like glowing with energy, like in this weird golden, like, I mean, I love those forms, but the fact that it's like their most powerful form is more like subtle and it's like just straight monkey design. Like it's so, I love that. It's awesome. And then, and the new one, it just being like, well, now they actually, it's the same, but like they have blue hair. And I swear, just trust me, bro, it's more powerful because it's like, it's just, it's blue. And I'm like, okay, that's super uninteresting, but okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get off the nerd anime.
Well, can I actually say before that though? One thing I want to say is that I often like when I'm talking to people about canon versus non-canon stuff in fandoms, I parallel Star Wars and Dragon Ball a lot because there's a lot of people who like they'll make comparisons to Akira Toriyama versus George Lucas and whether or not something is canon or not canon based on what the creators made versus what like fans have made. And there's a really cool parallel there between like again stuff being decanonized and people saying like things are of value because they were created by the original creator or not. And so that's just kind of an interesting dynamic between the two fandoms. in my opinion.
That is interesting. I pull a contrast to the Star Trek fandom when I'm explaining like about the EU, because Star Trek had all these books and comics and RPGs and video games, but they didn't really connect. They would contradict each other, contradict the show. And
Chris Nelson would have something to say about that.
Chris Nelson would have something to say about that, because he would say that a lot of them
he says it actually does fit.
Yes, he does. That's what he does say.
Yeah.
But some of them would like have characters who had already died like appear in multiple places and stuff. But the reasoning for that is because the same care wasn't really put into that it was put into the EU, right? This is what made the EU special. It was regarded as canon by the licensors, and that's why they were careful with it. And we didn't see that with Star Trek. So it creates a kind of stark contrast in like this universe contradicts itself and this one doesn't.
Yeah. I know for sure, even though it wasn't canon, that especially after Nemesis, when they did all the novels that are meant to take place after Nemesis, before Picard or any of those things exist, those were a lot more like the Star Wars Expanded Universe, where they really tried to keep that all cohesive.
There was like eras where they were,
or the relaunch novels of basically season 5 and 6 of Enterprise. Those are really tight. But there's a lot of ones in between which are a little bit more willy-nilly. You also have ones that take place in different universes. Like there's a Shatnerverse where it's all Shatner stuff, but that's not even like a part of the main like.
I have that book like anyway, over there. So.
So then you have to deal with Star Trek already just in their lit verse of itself has like a couple different continuities, and then you have the TV show continuity. So if Star Trek can do it, I feel like Star Wars can do too.
I feel like there needs to be like a change in the public perception of canon versus non-canon, because the truth of it is all fake, and you can take the best stories, and as long as they line up in your head, like just that's canon to you. And I feel like there's this weird like, no, if it's not canon, then it has less merit to it, and that applies beyond obviously just Star Wars, and it's really unfortunate anytime I kind of see that sentiment. And I'm wanting it to change.
Thank you. Can I just jump in with a really quick example? I would task anybody to come up with a better ending for Jax Pavin than the Hand of Thrawn 45.
Yeah, I know those. I know Hand of Thrawn 45 is rather controversial, and people like really love them or they hate them. And I can't speak to all the works. I've been going through them. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Arthur. I apologize.
You're good.
Sorry.
No, go for it. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Okay. I feel bad about that. I always do that. It's ADHD. But I've been going through them though, and I'll be going through the bulk of them after I finish Crucible for my second time. Because I've been doing fan fiction explorations to kind of see what everybody's talking about, because everybody mentions them. And so far I've enjoyed pretty much all of them. I don't think any of them are extremely the spectacular thing that should be the actual a part of the expanded universe. Like I always in my mind it's like separate from the EU. But I will say, when I read the two books that are a conclusion to Republic Commando and Coruscant Knights by him, I thought they were really well done. Like if I wasn't reading it on a fan fiction site, I could mistake it for an actual novel in the EU.
That's good praise.
There's no reason for you to not, consider that your definitive way that events played out, for you.
Yep. I mean, even if the EU gets continued, I know with like almost 99% certainty they're not going to make another Republic Commando book or another book dealing with Jax Pavin.
Are you kidding? As soon as the EU today on the 10-year anniversary, they're about to announce the Jax Pavin trilogy with the Legends banner on the posters. There's going to be a Legends banner watermark on the movie itself, so that just in case you get confused in the theater, it'll have a Legends banner across the screen on the top.
Dude, yeah, considering one of the novels was called The Last Jedi. Yeah, they probably really need that Legends banner.
Yeah, it's like it's the epic continuation of The Last Jedi, not the one you're thinking.
It actually says that in like parentheses, not the one you're thinking.
Not the one you're thinking, but the other one. But then you're also gotta make sure you're talking about the old Marvel comic.
The old Marvel
comic?
The
Last Jedi.
Yeah, it needs its own title for all this.
Ferris Olin's Last Jedi as well.
The Last of the Jedi.
The Last of the Jedi. That of is important.
Really distinguishes it.
Yeah. I can't wait.
The feeling there's been a lot of Last Jedis. Maybe there's more than we think.
Yeah. You know what? As Marcel says, maybe there's 2 Last Jedi. Maybe there's 10 Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's how Marcel explains away TCW contradictions. He's like, hear me out. There's 7 Dathomires. I mean, it works. We've howdy to Star Wars Awesome EU. We've also got whoa, his voice is amazing even when he's not narrating.
Right?
Michael
I was just
Johns,
praising him for this.
thank you very much.
Oh my god. Like, we don't even need to talk. We could go home. Just let him take over.
Yeah, no. His existence is one big narration.
Yeah, exactly.
It
imagine
official when he says something.
Imagine going to work with Robert, and he's like your manager, your boss or something, and he's like, go clean the toilet. And you're like, oh, yes, whatever you say. He's the Lisa Nagaib, from Dude.
Dude, if he was working the drive-thru at my shop, we'd get so many more customers.
Yeah. When I reach my 60s or 70s, I can only hope I sound like Valkorian.
Oh, yes, I love Valkorian's
good
voice.
Good goals.
Absolutely. Only Good Game says he'll do a video one day comparing the Dragon Ball GT decanonization to the EU one.
I would love to see that.
Sounds like you'll need to get Kristian on as a guest appearance for that video.
Yes, please. I would have so much to say.
The only thing that would make me feel slightly better, even though no matter what, I don't think they can reconcile it anymore. I'm not going to. I know we can't harp on this too much, but Super takes place before GT, so there is a
that is true.
To make this fit.
There's
but it'd be really choppy.
The thing that's interesting too is Japan. The concept of canon is totally different for them. They don't really because technically GT has never been declared non-canon, unlike Star Wars, where they said definitively this doesn't count essentially. Whereas in Japan, they're just like, oh, we're gonna start these new stories, and it just so happens that they're conflicting with what stories have come before. So the fan base is like, oh, I guess that's not canon. So that is kind of like a difference there as far as kind of how a company addresses new media they start producing.
Sea Spider mentions this is the day that the Flash vanishes in the Crisis in the Arrowverse CW shows. I used to be religiously a big fan of the Flash back when season 1 and 2 came out on the CW. I'm no longer.
Sorry to hear that. I've never been big into the CW verse, but
we've got a question for Alex, but I would open it up to the panel as well. You like prequels, but are critical of them. Is that correct?
Yes, I love the prequels, but I recognize they have flaws. But I personally see how best to say this. I think everything that was being put on paper for this trilogy in concept is superior, in my opinion, in almost every way to the trilogy in terms of being a more nuanced and complex story. Maybe not in terms of theming, because I think the theming in the original trilogy is pretty strong and timeless, but in terms of giving a really intricate, complex narrative, I think the prequels just outshine the OT. However, the execution is left a lot to be desired. But I still love them personally because I grew up with them, and I can look past it. Even without the EU, I think there's a lot of merit to the prequels that are kind of, especially in the early 2000s and when YouTube was in its early stages, was being really harped on as, oh, that's their absolute poopy garbage. No, I've seen some bad movies. The prequels are nowhere near that bad, okay? They
Sharknado.
Yes. They are decent films
Dang,
that just don't hold a candle to the original. It's like Godfather 1 versus Godfather 3. People hate on Godfather 3. I don't actually think Godfather 3 is a bad film. It just, in compared to Godfather 1 and 2, it's bad because Godfather 1 and 2 are put on a pedestal. But 3 isn't actually that horrible of a film. It's just all right. So I kind of feel the same way objectively about the prequels, but subjectively, I love them.
Can I jump onto that and say that I likewise grew up on the prequels, not in the same time, obviously. I was watching them in 2012, 2013 on DVDs. I almost wore out my Attack of the Clones DVD. I watched it so many times.
Yes.
I've watched Attack of the Clones more than any other Star Wars movie. I love Revenge of the Sith and Phantom Menace as well. Do they have flaws? absolutely,
For sure.
they have flaws. Like, don't get it twisted. George was not writing the best dialogue in the
No.
prequels. At the same time, there is more good than bad in the prequels. The good outweighs the bad for me.
Agreed.
And that's even on its own 2 feet outside of the EU. With the EU, it makes the prequels so much better. The Republic comics, Darth Plagueis props it up so much that I just don't
Book
see
of
why the
Deception.
prequels should even be criticized.
And
one thing I just want to mention real quick too is that, especially nowadays, and I can't speak to every film that comes out, you know, and I've heard, you know, like we were talking about Dune before we started this stream, and I know Marcel's been a bit critical of the movie and everything. That's okay. You know, everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I think the difference for me is that because I see so much schlock in theater and so much things that are just okay or just made to earn a buck, you know, like how many romance movies have you seen? How many this or that or action movie have you seen again and again and again? Few exceptions, like with John Wick being like a breath of fresh air, or the new Monkey Man thing that just came out. But so many action movies that you just like it's the same thing over and over and over again. But when you get something with passion, even if it isn't perfect, you know, like Dune Part 1 and Part 2, they may not be perfect films.
They're passion projects.
I personally think they're better than 1984, though, in my opinion. But
wait, you think the new Dunes are better than 1984?
Yes, absolutely. I think
Dune?
they are. But that's a separate topic. Yeah, I do think
Okay,
they're better
yeah.
than the David Lynch ones. But we could talk about that at another time. But
that sounds like a stream in and of itself.
And so the same thing with the prequels, you know, I can look past it because I can see the passion and the love behind it, you know, and that's what I feel is missing a lot in fiction today.
Yes, no, exactly that. I totally agreed. Like,
so passion makes it up for everything.
Being able to tell whether or not an artist is doing it because they want to or because they feel obligated to makes a world of difference in how I receive that media, you know, because if I can tell that the people involved with that story don't really want to tell the story to begin with, then it really just makes it much less engaging for me.
Arthur, Robert, Kristian, prequels. Where do you stand?
Well, I love the prequels. I think I watched them at the perfect age. I think I'm like the specific age group is a really rare, small group of people who saw the special editions in the early or the late 90s. So I was 7. So I was able to see the special editions before the prequels came out and internalize the original trilogy and have nostalgia for that by the time the prequels came out. And so then I saw episode 1 when I was 9. So Jar Jar was funny and Anakin was relatable. And then by the time Attack of the Clones came out, I was in like middle school. And so I had grown up with Yoda, so it completely blew my mind to see him use his lightsaber. And then Revenge of the Sith I saw in high school, and I loved Revenge of the Sith. There was around when Revenge of the Sith came out, I started noticing people saying that the prequels were horrible and that they sucked and that I'm supposed to hate them. And so I was like, yeah, the prequels are stupid. Stupid Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like a few years after.
Glad those days are over.
I like those movies.
Yeah.
So.
What you said made me think about how like Revenge of the Sith, like you were at literally the perfect age, like 9 years for the Phantom Menace, and then high school for like where Revenge of the Sith takes it kind of darker and edgy. Like right as you're starting to get into high school, like that was perfect actually tonally for someone about your age.
Yeah, I mean they still weren't perfect, but I still really liked them. Have a lot of nostalgia for them. It's weird. I have nostalgia for the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, in a way that I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So feel lucky for that.
For sure. Kristian, Robert, thoughts on the prequels?
Yes, I have a lot of thoughts on the prequels. Obviously, so I was born in 1998, so that was prime time for me. Getting invested into those. In my thing in the submission, I was saying that the original Clone Wars series was what got me invested into the EU originally, that and the miniatures game. But I remember that's one of my first, like, that's like a core memory for me, is watching Cartoon Network and seeing like Anakin holding Padme and he's going off to war and it's all dramatic and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like we're watching the Clone Wars in real time. This is insane. And just Mace Windu just absolutely decimating droids and Yoda just that I just thought it was so cool. And actually that was also the same time I was getting into Dragon Ball. Those are both on I think it was Cartoon Network around the same time. But for me,
Clone
yeah,
Wars,
I mean,
sorry,
Clone
Wars 2003 is so much fun.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I had it on my crappy little like square TV. But no, I am definitely think one of the things that irks me a lot is when I see the sentiment of, the Clone Wars 2008, it made the prequels watchable. Like, I completely
hate it so much. I hate it. Doesn't it really doesn't. Sorry, keep going. I just agree with you a lot.
No, yeah. Anytime someone's like, "Oh, yeah, the prequels are only good if you do X, Y, and Z," and I'm like, every part of my being just wants to be like, let me talk with you and explain like where my head's at with that, because there's so many parts that hit so close to home and hit like I can just see what George Lucas is trying to do, even if it's not completely executed perfectly. That's okay. And it really just I find it beautiful. One of my favorite scenes is in Attack of the Clones, and I get so emotional. The scene where he finds out his mom is kidnapped by Tusken Raiders. He hasn't seen her in years. And that music that hits when he's on that speeder bike racing to the Tusken camp and he's trying to find her. And when he gets to her and he's holding her and she's like, I'm finally complete. And he's like, mom, stay with me. Like, that's
she tries
so
to say
good.
I love you and can't finish
yeah,
it.
Yeah. And he
shakes her.
knowing what she's trying to say, and he'll never hear it again. And he's just looking down at her, and that slow like look up with that music, and he's just like, I'm going to kill every single one of these people. They are going to die, and I do not care. Like, that is so good. Yeah, no, well, and I'll say this might be a little deep for a YouTube stream, but my mom actually passed away when I was 13, and so that made every time I see that scene, I'm like, dude, I get it. Like, I absolutely get it. Like, and so I'm also very defensive of Anakin's character a lot of times, because he also will be trashed on often, as far as people will be like, oh, Clone Wars Anakin's good, but prequel Anakin is bad. I'm like, I don't agree with you. I'm sorry.
Part of the things that too, I mean, this is actually perfect that you brought up this particular point, because we're celebrating the 10-year anniversary since the EU's been, I guess, not celebrating, reminiscing something, but
celebration and lamentation all at once.
Sure. But it's been 10 years and we're sad about a fictional, series of books and comics and stuff and video games that we were looking at. But this is his mom, and it's the same time frame, 10 years since he's seen his mom. And then this happens to his mom the last time he sees her. He hasn't seen her since that scene in episode 1 where he says goodbye. That's the last time he talked to her. And now the next time he sees her, she's in his arms dying.
And think of how much time he's had to build up to, like, he's imagined how that reunion is going to go. Like, he's like, I'm going to go save her.
I'm going to save the slaves. I'm going to make my mom free.
In the EU and like Rogue Planet and Jedi Quest, he like dreams about like seeing his mom again and being reunited with her and everything too, which just adds another layer. I'm very sorry for your loss, though, Kristian.
For sure.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, and it just, again, like, finding like meaning in those moments, and like the EU just expanding on it, like you said. Anytime I'm reading about what Anakin's going through during that time in his life, it's just it's so good, and it's just so, like, what's the word? I just get so invested in what he's going through, and I think that's why Anakin, despite I know I'm huge into the EU and we all are, and Anakin's technically, movie character, but he's still my favorite character to this day.
Because Anakin is, we all want to be Luke Skywalker, but Anakin Skywalker is who we would all probably be in reality. That's the thing. But the thing you also mentioned with TCW and people saying, oh, this is how he should have been. But Anakin in 2008 is literally just every OT hater of the prequels saying how much Anakin sucks and then making him like that without giving any justification for why he acts that way. And that's so frustrating because I felt like the 2003 show did a perfect job of showing that transition, because he starts off very much like his episode 2 counterpart. But by the time you get to that second season, he's a lot more like you would expect him to be by the time of episode 3 or even the 08 show. But they earned that. They showed that progression and what he went through to bring him to that point. And they didn't do that in 2008 show. He just already is the idealized version of what the OT fans wanted. And since we're already on this with the whole prequels, also, like, what was the big thing when the prequels came out? What was the big thing that ruined Star Wars? The midichlorians. Well, I'm sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but in the Jedi Academy books, they have a device that finds Force sensitives. Now, explain to me how that works if it's just a religious, mystical aspect. It was already scientific.
Wait. Sorry, this is amazing. Are you using are you using the Jedi Academy trilogy to defend midichlorians and the Phantom Menace? That is beautiful.
Yes. That was written before the prequels.
Make sure to lock your doors tonight for sure.
But also, like, a lot of people in your 10-year anniversary mentioned Supernatural Encounters. Supernatural Encounters is a perfect example. But I already thought this before that book came out, that just because you can explain something, because all it does is explain why some people can use the Force and some can't. Everybody has midichlorians in them, but the higher the count determines whether you can actually use it, because everybody has the Force. It surrounds everyone.
Well,
right. So just like if I can know the inner layers of workings of a car, just because you understand that doesn't mean that I can know how to drive a car and not know how anything within it actually works, right? But that doesn't mean it's like, oh, it's just ruined.
Yeah,
it
it's
breaks
just like
everything
space
because I understand how a car works.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just now understand more information.
I never understood the hate for midichlorians, because all it is an expansion on what has already been established, not even just from the EU, but in the original movies, which the movies already established that not everybody is as equal in the Force. Like that's already established in the original trilogy. And the midichlorians are just explaining more in detail why that's the case.
Not to mention bloodlines, because both Luke and Leia have the Force.
Right.
In the OT, just in that alone. So clearly there's some sort of biological aspect to it.
Yeah. I think mostly people who are getting mad at that are people who are like wanting the Force to be the same with everybody. Anybody can tap into the Force equally, and midichlorians is kind of a reminder to them that that's not how it actually works. I don't want to speak for them, but that's kind of what I would imagine the frustration might come from what I've seen.
Sorry, I know that I don't mean to take up too much time, but it's the same thing of most of the complaints of the prequels. I mean, there are some valid ones like the dialogue or how certain scenes are executed, but a lot of the complaints I hear are really stupid things that are really based on what you would want for Star Wars. Then go make your own franchise. Because what they go is, well, I imagined when I watched episode 5 that Yoda never used the lightsaber. He only used the Force. That was my belief when I was like 7 watching it in episode 5 when he shows up. Therefore, he can never use a lightsaber.
Did you think he just used a stick and nothing else? He was just like a stick master?
Like, was that established in the films, or are you making an assumption? So, because there's nothing contradictory about him using a lightsaber in the prequels, but that was something that people really hated when episode 2 came out.
Him using a lightsaber in the prequels was one of my favorite parts. Dude, the way he does that Clint Eastwood like robe toss to the side and his Force pulls. It's like if Clint Eastwood like moved his robe to the side, but instead of using his hand to grab the revolver, he just used the Force like to go into like the duel.
People lost their mind in the theater.
Dude, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Nobody knew we were going to see Yoda using a lightsaber. So just imagine.
Last thing I'll say. Sorry, I didn't mean. Sorry. I don't want to forget.
And that wasn't even Yoda in his prime.
Yeah, that's a good point. And he was like
But,
bouncing off the
yeah.
walls like a pinball. So how agile was he like 500 years before that?
But you know, the midichlorians thing and people saying like, well, now makes this that not anybody can be a Jedi. Why? It's still random. It just explains why that random person can use it. But it's still completely random in terms of who actually is able to use the Force. I mean, it doesn't ruin that aspect of, oh, anyone can be a Jedi, because it's just explaining why that anyone can use it. So if you're able to use the Force, it's because you have midichlorians, a high enough count of it. Cool. It's still anybody. I don't understand why it ruins the whole possibility of it being a random person. But look at Zane Garrick. We were just talking about him before. He's a fairly average Jedi. He's not the greatest thing ever, but he has midichlorians. But it's still anybody. It doesn't ruin that. So I don't get why people get so hung up on that.
Yeah. Robert, what are your thoughts on the prequels?
Sorry.
I'm excited to hear him talk. Go.
I have a definite fondness for the prequels. I grew up with episodes 1 and 2 on DVD after having seen the original trilogy on VHS, the special editions. I still regret to this day that I missed out on my chance to see Revenge of the Sith when it first came out.
Yeah,
But
I think that is rough. Because imagine the crowd reactions there too.
Are you guys going to go see them when they come out on May 6th, if you can?
If I can, I will absolutely do it. It's just a matter of work.
the last film I actually saw in the cinema was The Rise of Skywalker.
Yikes.
And then you never went back.
Yeah, I'd only seen the sequels and the Star Wars stories in theaters. So the joke I made is that I had to go see The Return of the Jedi because I needed to see a good Star Wars film. Now, am I playing that up a little bit? Sure, because even as a diehard EU fan, I do have some fondness for like Rogue One. But
no, yeah, I like Rogue One.
I think I just got my EU card revoked.
That's crazy. You've never even said such a thing to me before.
Yeah, I know. Ooh, treading on new ground. Believe it or not, I still have like a visual dictionary in a box somewhere for Rogue One.
Isn't there space made for like elements of Rogue One in Supernatural Encounters?
Yes.
And I know Cassian Andor, like his code name and everything. Like I know there's those connections.
he was in the EU already. I love to talk about that because of Interlude at Darknell, which he's called like Anok or no, what is it? Yeah, Anno something. It begins with an A is like his code name. And then that code name is in the visual dictionary as his code name for Rogue One, which means that he's out there in the EU already using like like tracing your steps backwards. Very crisp voice. Almost sounds AI.
I had the same thought. I was like, he sounds like some AI programs when I've typed in prompts and it'll read it back to me in this like inhumanely crisp sounding voice. Like it sounds like that.
Except there won't be any mispronunciations for like for like species names. I'm not a big fan of using like AI because like I think that like we should support creatives. So like we should support artists, voice actors, writers, all of that, because I think that like what makes us human in part is our creativity. It sets us apart, right? And so I don't love the slippery slope to like if we use AI, then I feel like there's repercussions to that. Although I think it can be used as a positive tool, so let's use it as a positive tool. But then it's not to get into all that. That's a whole can of worms. But I'm typically for like supporting, creatives rather than AI, but I have on occasion listened to like an AI EU audiobook, and the way it mispronounces names is like, it's so infuriating, but so funny at the same time.
You know, what's crazy is that we have actual audiobooks that still pronounce Coruscant wrong. Like listening to those abridged audiobooks where it's
or
like
scanned.
they went on Coruscant and saw the Wookiee, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't even AI either. That's so unfortunate.
As far as I know, that's how it was pronounced before the prequels came out, right?
You hear it in TIE Fighter.
Right. Yeah. I heard that. Yeah.
I think.
You know,
Thank
Robert,
you, Only Good Games. I'm not an AI. I'm not planning to overthrow the human race.
That's exactly what an AI would say.
You're not a Terminator, which is another series that has a canon reboot that I also feel passionately about.
Yeah, Terminator is a whole other bag of worms right there.
Robert, can you in your audio drama for Supernatural Encounters, can you, like, as a little wink, pronounce Coruscant as Coruscant?
Please don't.
I don't think I can do it.
Please ask Kyle.
Yeah, I was just kidding. Please no.
I like it. I like Coruscant.
Yeah. You're a Coruscant apologist?
Yeah. Reminds me of Scandits.
True, that is a positive. Scandits are little raccoon guys in Ewoks.
If I may add one thing, Only Good Games, thank you for recording and uploading the Legends Con panels, and you too, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. I was friends with Only Good Games before going there, and like when I'd be sitting with like Alex and Arthur and Marcel and Sebastian and many others, he'd just have his phone and he had a steady hand on it. Like I recorded some of a panel for myself and my hands were getting shaky. He locked in. He was locked in and he did a great job recording those. Yeah. Hey. Look who we've got here.
Oh.
It's Marcel.
Marcel,
how's it going?
hello.
Sorry I didn't see you there.
The moment I heard you were listening to AI audio, Brennan, I came on here to chastise you.
Yeah.
Only for
Marcel's
research
archenemy.
purposes.
This is the only reason I am on right now. There's no other reason.
He also photobombed or video bombed my Supernatural Encounters panel because there's a part where he goes, as I'm trying to film it. It was really funny.
I was looking through that video the other day, and I could not find the video bomb part. Do you remember what timestamp it is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Wait, who did that? Was that Marcel or me?
It was Marcel because he was sitting right next to me, and Joe said something that we all like heavily agreed with, and he was like, "Yeah," and then
it was some good stuff.
Yeah.
I really hope I can go to the second one. It's sad I missed the first one.
I really hope I can go too. Just kidding. I'm going. But Kristian, I was listening to what you were saying earlier. I was listening to what Kristian was saying earlier about because I was trying to get caught up on the stream, and you were talking about how people need to get rid of this idea of their of canon having more merit, just because it's like canon, right? And I totally agree with you. I think that what is canon is often decided by the rights holder, not the fans. And I think there's a lot to be said about people who are maybe closer to the stories than someone who works in a corporate office. And their motive may not be picking the most creative stories, but profit. I think that it would be great if the casual fan was educated to understand that just because something is canon doesn't mean that it's better.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to see another franchise I love get a canon reboot, I'm gonna lose faith in humanity. I'm so over it at this point.
It took me while Marcel was doing his entire amazing and wonderful little bit that he just talked about. It was great. I just noticed his little
Dune.
Little Dune.
1984 is better.
Oh yeah,
and I decided to keep my mouth closed.
It is.
We've got some Dark Times support in the comments, which makes me and Robert happy, as I hope it does for the rest of the panel.
I love Dark Times.
Halo has a single solid continuity, Callum.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I am way behind on these comments. I feel like Matt Wilkins right now, 50 comments behind or something like that.
I'm going
did
through the Halo books. They've been pretty good so far. The couple that I've read.
I did see this comment from Michael Lynch where I think this is really funny. He said, I don't think I understood or accepted like the reboot till I saw Chewie in the Force Awakens trailer because I was hoping they'd keep as much as possible. So wait, this is funny because I feel like this is the one moment where someone was sad that Chewie hadn't died. This is the only instance where you're sad that he survives.
Wait. But maybe back then, ignoring what we already know. Two Chewies.
Chewie. Chewie.
Okay. Did you see my? You haven't gotten to my comment yet, but why can't there be 7 Dathomires? There's like 7 like Springfields in the United States. There's like 8 Birminghams. There's like New York. There's like 7 of them.
Springfields.
Yeah.
I'm honored to know that I have the perfect spirit for that, Sebastian. Thank you.
Yeah,
I guess
backwards baseball cap and the jersey on. All you need is a skateboard next to you.
I have
question...
a skateboard, but I fell off it so much that I stopped using it.
Don't even get me started on hurting myself on a skateboard, dude. I feel that. But I was gonna say the question becomes, if they're okay, say there's 7 Dathomirs, does the logic then follow that those Dathomirs have 7 different groups of Dathomir, which is 7 different
Asajj Ventures's?
Oh, I don't think that there's 7. I think that there's 2 Dathomirs in my theory. I mean, my theory is it's just a theory, right? But
it's just
why couldn't there be there's 2 different sets of prophets of the dark side? Why can't there be 2 different sets of Dathomiri witches?
But why even go that far? Why can't it just be the other side of the planet? Like Adamar did.
Because it looks different from space.
Okay.
Then we have a Mandalore situation all over again.
Yeah, Mandalore. Yeah. My explanation for Mandalore is just that section was like America. That's why it was like enough for
what?
No, okay, like America's like a big section of like the planet, but it's not like
Alex getting all political.
No. Listen, America's 50 states. It's a large portion of land, but it's not the whole planet. But like from like the
it isn't. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was.
As an American, I thought it was.
As a non-American, I thought it was too. So
I mean, where aliens only go to LA or New York, nowhere else.
I love his facial expression right now. He's so done with us.
Anyway, so if it's like America where it's like that big but not the whole planet, it would make sense why in TCW like Obi-Wan and everything in the Senate would think that it's like important enough to like talk to them about like negotiations and stuff without ruining the fact that how Karen Traviss describes Mandalorians in her books and stuff. That's just the rest of the planet. That's how I go about. So you're saying
that there's one part of Mandalore that's America, and that there's only blonde-haired people who dress Scandinavian in that
fine Germany, whatever you want to say. It's just that part is trying to be peaceful and be different.
Sure, maybe.
Well, didn't the Central Guide to Warfare try to make sense of it?
It did. That's true. And also, Plagueis, I think, did something with it as well. Didn't it? Didn't Plagueis mention peaceful Mandalorians or something like that? I don't think. Did it?
I don't remember that, but maybe.
Okay, maybe not. Plagueis did have some TCW references, but maybe
I'm just saying
it does have.
Starfighters of Adamar actually had a real planet that actually had different political and ideologies and stuff.
See,
every planet in Star Wars, they have the same beliefs on the whole surface
on the
of the
whole
entire planet, which is not realistic.
So we can't even do that on our planet. Yeah,
exactly. So why can't Mandalore and Dathomir just have different sections?
See, I mean, you could argue in a galaxy like Star Wars that the planets would be more homogenized because where the cultural like spread and diversity comes from would like be on those different, like each planet would basically be like a country. Because I mean, that's basically how it is.
Yeah.
Read
Supernatural Encounters and you'll find out why it's homogenized.
Yeah.
What about Ryloth, though? Sorry.
Ryloth?
Yes, I mean,
that's true.
During that arc in season 1, are they out in the middle of the Brightlands the whole time?
That's a good point.
That's a very good point because in the is it Twilight that we first see them? I think that we see Ryloth, and they're like all in the caves and stuff. No, we see that in Twilight, the Republic arc
comic.
Well, I know, but isn't Ryloth introduced in something else, like
you might be right.
Young Jedi Knights. I'm pretty sure they go to Ryloth.
Okay.
Ryloth was seen in Tales of the Jedi Redemption.
So that's
I know
99
it comes
or
up in
2000?
the
No,
Jedi
Tales of
Academy
Jedi
trilogy
Redemption's
as well.
98.
98. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe was it the Essential Atlas? I think they were talking about trying to keep things consistent, and I think for Ryloth they were like, yeah, we couldn't, we didn't. I don't know. Threw our hands up. And we went with the Clone Wars one.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong, because was the Clone Wars out at that point?
The Atlas was 2008 or 9, I want to say, wasn't it? And TCW was 2008, and that was a season 1 episode, so it could have been. Yeah.
Is that when the Atlas came out? Really? That early? I thought it came out closer to the.
Did it come out with the Guide to Warfare? Because if it did, then that was 2012.
It's before those guys.
Oh.
Okay.
Because I thought I saw some more recent stuff in there, but I guess wires crossed.
2012 was the Essential Guide to Warfare. At least I have at least that date locked in. I'm disappointed with my mistake on Tales of the Jedi Redemption. I missed it by a year or two.
Ghostfish says the Brightlands are 100% uninhabitable, and they specifically mention the planet rotating. And he texted me
they
on
mentioned
Discord.
that in Twilight.
Yeah, he says on Discord, like, the most you could do is say it's like a moon next to Ryloth.
Yeah. If I were to make an expanded universe story, I would have a planet with like 276 different countries and like have like radically different beliefs in all of those countries. Because then you could have like a planetary war type thing. You could have like Grandmaster Ben Skywalker go to deal with it.
So,
and one country would think it was the only country that existed in the history of the world.
I wonder what that's an allegory for.
No
Jedi
clue.
Apprentice has the what is it called? I forget the planet. It's got the 2 different names.
Yeah, Dan Merida Dan or something like that.
Something like that. It could be like that.
Yeah, and they both like hate each other with a passion, and they both claim their planet's a different name. That was so interesting.
Was that when Obi-Wan leaves? Is that story arc you're talking
about?
Yeah,
where he leaves Qui-Gon.
Yeah, that's good.
That broke my heart so much. I'm still not completely over that, because like Obi-Wan worked so hard to win Qui-Gon's approval, and when he does, he just throws it away for the first like girl he meets on a planet, and it's like, what are you doing, dude?
His values were involved in making that decision.
yeah, true. But on this question, I choose Clone Wars 2003. What about everyone else?
Same.
Yeah, it's what got me into the EU. So
I'd probably say Filoni.
That's fair.
But it's just I read in a reverse order of quality, and so the lower quality things are they're not as bad. When if I had read Disney canon or seen the sequel movies after reading all of the EU, I would like them a lot less. But as it is, I still have the memory of first watching them unsullied by.
You read/watched in the correct order. Then you like watch stuff that you would be happy with, and then when you go back through the EU, then you're just getting more and more happy about it.
Yeah. In fact, I think I found, if you want to consume all of the Star Wars, I found how to do it. Just ask me. You start with Disney.
Do you have like a list yet? So it's like we start here and then we go from there to the EU, or do you stop up anywhere else?
It has a specific order as well, which is Bantam, and then chronological up to NJO.
Okay.
Because if I had read NJO and then I went back to some of the Clone Wars era stuff, I'd probably lose some wind in my sails. But as it was,
imagine starting Dawn of the Jedi like Liam did.
I like Dawn of the Jedi. You're all wrong.
That's okay.
Marcel does too. Marcel and Arthur are big into the Void fans.
What? No, I don't like Dawn of the Jedi.
You just don't think it's bad.
Yeah, I love Knight Errant. I just don't think it's bad. I think people
Yeah.
go crazy about how bad Dawn. It's like a fine book, 5 out of 10 book.
Marcel's fighting for those 4 stars. Those 4 stars are important.
It's just I'm fighting for its mid status.
Can we agree that Approaching Storm is? Can we all agree that Approaching Storm is egregious?
We got
that's one of the worst books I've ever read.
Like, no, 2 people on the EU group project cited Approaching Storm as their favorite expanded universe book.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
I love how Maxine just gets like summoned into the ether whenever we mention Knight Errant. Knight Errant gang, rise up.
Oh yeah, what the heck? That's crazy.
That's one of 3 EU books that I got my girlfriend to read, and she likes it.
Nice.
That's fair.
She likes it a lot. I thought I don't get the hate for it. I think it's awesome.
I just think John Jackson Miller's amazing. Great guy.
I think that Knight Errant
they
has
mix them in the Barnes
phenomenal
and Noble one.
ideas. I love the villains. I find Kara Holt just dull. I've tried to hear what you guys are saying about why she's actually really interesting, but hearing you guys talk about it, or like Marcel and Maxine talk about it, makes her sound so much cooler than she actually is when I read it. But when I read it, I'm like, no, she's not. She's like a video game character. It's like how dull she is. Like I have to like fill in stuff to make her interesting. But everything else about it, like the setting, the villains, everything about that, I'm for all of that. It is just her because I have to focus on her. Take her out entirely. Just make it be about the infighting between the Sith. You'd have me completely. I'm all for it.
Well, that's all still there.
Yeah. It is all still there. I just have to sit through the Kara Holt bits. This is the problem.
Yeah.
I know you'll fight me, Vaccine.
I saw Michael Lynch's comment where he said that in addition to watching the video today, something that he was going to do, and this was an idea that maybe a lot of people should do, is everyone go watch Clone Wars 2003 on Disney Plus. Maybe they'll see a spike, a mass watching of an expanded universe Legends show. Can that carry weight? If we hundreds or thousands of us go to watch it on one streaming platform one day, could that have an impact? I don't know.
I kind of hate how they
do that
bury
with the
it.
Ewok show.
They kind of hide it almost. It feels like
Vintage
it's very,
Star Wars,
very tucked away.
Yeah, labeled vintage too. It's like I don't know how something is vintage when it's in this millennium, but
yeah, true. Let me see if I can catch up on all of these. Oh, we've got a Birdemic reference for movies worse than the prequels. Love to see that. I've watched all 3 Birdemics. So
you've watched 3 of them?
There's only 3.
One. How did you do that?
I like bad movies. I enjoy
How about
them.
The Room?
I have not watched The Room. I've watched movie reviews of The Room. And another one that's good is if you like Sharknado, watch 3-headed, 4-headed, 5-headed, and 6-headed Shark Attack. Those are all separate movies.
I'd recommend Winnie the Pooh.
The Blood and Honey?
Yeah, yeah, Blood and Honey. Yeah,
that's so bad.
I heard
Brennan, if you ever do watch The Room, just make sure that you're not watching it with your parents.
Yeah, there's a particular scene that is harped on for far too long, and it's not even enjoyable to watch.
It's right at the beginning. It's right at the beginning.
Okay, so watch from 15 minutes and onwards.
Aren't you also supposed to bring spoons when you're watching?
I was literally about to say the best way to watch it is they did this in Los Angeles, where you would go to a movie theater and they would have showings, and Tommy Wiseau would actually be there a lot of the time. And yeah, they would have it where you'd bring the spoons and you'd throw it at the screen whenever it would pop up.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, him and Greg Sestero, who plays his best friend in the movie, his best friend Mark. They would go around and do like a circuit around North America, and I think maybe even Europe too, where they would just like present the film, and then you get to like chat with them after or whatever, and take pictures with them.
Didn't they think originally that it was like a really deep movie?
Well, I'm pretty sure everybody didn't think that except for Tommy Wiseau himself.
Yeah, Tommy Wiseau. I think he thinks he's famous for reasons different from why he's actually famous. Let's say that.
Yeah. Everybody was like, "What the hell is this? What are we making?" And he was just like, "This is my magnum. This is my magnum opus."
Funny story, Mark.
This is my amazing story, Mark. You love it.
That's a pretty good impression, actually. That's a good impression.
No,
How's your
Callum.
sex life?
Callum, I was watching Attack of the Clones for Padme's outfits. I was watching it
Padme's
for.
got some serious outfits in that one.
No
She
comment.
does. I was watching it for Battle of Geonosis, and everyone after the stream, go watch my Talking Star Wars EU with Alex. About 7 minutes in, he says that Padme's outfit in in Battle of Geonosis made him realize that girls aren't icky. And it's one of my favorite things he's ever said.
Right. I'm not going to touch that, but what I will say is, and I know Alex hates Red Letter Media, but their review of Attack of the Clones, there's like the one part that just makes I think about it like twice a week, and it makes me laugh. It's like, someone tried to kill you through a window, and yet you're standing in the window in like the middle of the day, and there are droids like cleaning the window. Why are you so irresponsible?
Wanted to use her as bait, Master. It was her idea.
Oh, God.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty good Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, you just have to talk
Sorry,
very
Master.
monotone.
I've not played Mass Effect yet.
It's so good, dude. It's literally the same feel, and which makes sense. It was made by the same people, but it's the same feel as Knights of the Old Republic in a lot of ways. Like with the crew and the ship and going around the galaxy. The lore is really good. I think you'd like it a lot.
No, yeah, I love Mass Effect. It's one of my favorite video game franchises, along with also Dragon Age, but that's more fantasy.
Dragon Age is great too.
I've played through Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 twice. I started Andromeda. I didn't get very far.
Yeah,
Is Andromeda not liked?
It's not, but I like it.
I was about to say I like it, but it's definitely it's not as good for sure.
Here's what I'll say: it is, I think, objectively more fun to play in terms of just gameplay. It's a lot more fun to just shoot things and have fun.
Yeah, it's
but the
definitely
story is significantly weaker. But this is kind of the same thing with Fallout, because Fallout 3, New Vegas, a lot more RPGs, and Fallout 4 drops a lot of the role-playing aspects. But it's just really fun to walk around and shoot things and to just explore. It's so much fun. And there's a sprint feature, which is not in any of the other games. So it's really nice.
Wait, which game is this?
Fallout 4.
Okay. Mass Effect was the first game I ever bought on Steam.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, really?
With the Legendary Edition or the original?
Original, back in the good old days of, what was it, 2009 or something.
What's
I
awesome
originally played it on the 360.
Yeah.
I did too. But what's awesome about Mass Effect that I haven't really seen in another game do is the way, because there's a lot of games that are RPGs where you're obviously making different choices, but I haven't seen one that carries across a whole trilogy and has creates such a variance in your game based on those 3 different game saves. I haven't seen another series do that. It's possible they're out there, but I haven't seen.
A lot of the
any.
isometric
So cool.
RPGs did that.
Oh, hey, can I read you the first line of Mass Effect's Wikipedia article, Alex? This is for you specifically because you hate Canada. Mass Effect is a Canadian military science fiction media franchise.
When did I say I hate Canada?
Oh, we know it. Don't worry, it's okay. But it's Canadian,
because,
so
I'm the resident Canada hater, not Alex.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, just because I like Barney from How I Met Your Mother doesn't mean anything.
The fact that those games let you import your save game from the previous game, that was amazing.
Really,
I like that function a lot, for sure.
I don't think I'd ever seen anything like that in a game before.
It doesn't change your story significantly outside of a few things. Like in 2, you can have companions die, and if they're dead in 2,
it's in 3. It's in 3 where you really start to see the variance, in my opinion.
But you do see a lot of little things in all the games. Like in the second one, if you save this random person on this mission, at some point during the second game, maybe you get an email telling them how.
Oh, that's so cool!
Yeah,
so it's not like a big story change, but it's
that.
a little thing that gives you acknowledgement for the things you do. So, and it's made by BioWare, who made KOTOR 1, and SWTOR. So
I have a question or a statement pulled up. I'm still convinced the Dark Jar Jar theory is real. There's too much evidence for it. How are you feeling about this? Outside of the meme, anyone buy into it? When I first discovered it, I was 100% sure it was real. The longer time's gone on, the more I'm like, probably not. What do you guys think?
I'm surprised you're saying you bought into it. That's kind of crazy to me.
I bought into it hard when I was 12.
That does raise questions about Julia, though.
All I'll say is that the hate for Jar Jar is stupid because whenever I watch Red Letter Media or who else did it? It was what's his name? Nostalgia Critic. They always mention how much Jar Jar brings down the movie, and if you look at the runtime and how much screen time he actually has, he's in like 10 to 15 minutes of the whole film. And they make it sound like he is in every single scene and shot and just ruins every single scene he's in. And every scene he's in is a very little part. He steps in poo. Haha, funny for the kids. And it's gone. They act like it. They harp on it for like 3 minutes. No, and it never happens.
I'm actually big fans of both Red Letter Media and Nostalgia Critic, but I agree that their Star Wars reviews are just very milquetoast, like what you would imagine most people on the internet would say about.
Well, they're the ones that started that cliche. But don't get me wrong, I've watched every single one of Nostalgia Critic's commercial reviews from like the 90s that he reviewed. I love those, but his Star Wars videos suck.
I think that there's obviously Darth Jar Jar is not real and was never intended, but I think that you could make a compelling case for it just using in-universe scenes and materials.
Really? You want to elaborate on that? Because I'm very interested.
Okay. There's that one scene in TCW where Jar Jar, you know what I'm talking about, right? The dinner scene where Jar Jar's just like falling all over the place.
The Toydarians?
Yeah.
Or sorry, no, not the Toydarians.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I forget like how it, but it like everything like works out in the end. I'm like, only a Sith could be so precise. Okay.
That happens in every episode he's in.
Right. Yeah. And it always works out. It always works out for the best. And I just think like, here is the hidden Sith Lord.
And how about to go off of that? Oops, go ahead.
Oh, well, this just came to my mind. What if this is a Tolkien situation? What if, or I should say C.S. Lewis, but it's totally something that Tolkien thought about and then dropped because he didn't want to compare himself to Lewis, so dropped the idea. But this is another theory. Okay, so I have to explain this. I'm sorry. Okay, so not Sith Lord. Jar Jar is the Supreme Maker. And just like Tom Bombadil in the Lord of the Rings is this really strange character who can't get affected by the ring, and he just happens to be able to do all this stuff.
I don't know about that one. I'm gonna be honest.
That's certainly.
I was just talking out my butt.
That's certainly one for the books.
So lightsaber form 7. Not the one that Mace uses, the other one.
Yeah.
The one that can be best described as controlled chaos. Does that?
Does that apply to Jar Jar?
Can we link
that description? Absolutely applies to Jar Jar.
Yeah.
And also, the point that sold it for me was when they show his like force leap, when he jumps super high and spins into the water.
Right.
People pointed out we only ever saw Jedi or Sith force augmented beings who are able to jump that high.
Yeah.
As Jar Jar.
Why can Lego Jar Jar Binks jump higher than the other characters in Lego Star Wars? What's up with that?
But I was thinking, wait, can we link Jar Jar being on Tatooine or making them go to Tatooine or picking up Anakin Skywalker? I'm just thinking like
we're gonna construct it, make it.
We're gonna workshop it. We're gonna workshop it.
And
can we link that?
An out of universe theory for it that I saw is people pointed out that George said, with my prequel trilogy, I wanted to mirror the original trilogy. And in the original trilogy, Luke meets Yoda, and Yoda's this goofy little character, and he turns out to be the hidden Grand Master. So in the prequel trilogy, if George was intending it to mirror the original trilogy, he would have intended there to be a goofy side character who turns out to be the Grand Master. The only person that could apply to is Jar Jar.
I mean, he is a Bombad general, so maybe that's where that.
But if we're taking this seriously, then what was he doing after episode 3? Why is Sidious in charge and not him?
I ascribe to the Matt Wilkins theory. He died a drunkard all alone.
So he's this powerful Sith Lord, but dies of dies of alcohol poisoning.
If you read George R. Binks, if you read the George R. Binks story in Tales, it looks like he's being compelled to like kill himself. Like you could see there's like beads of sweat forming on his forehead.
That's only one way to put it.
And so he's being mind controlled to kill himself. Like it's like the Force is like Jar Jar's just using the Force to like get him to like shoot himself.
So you're saying that George R was under a mind trick from Jar Jar?
Okay, look. All I'm saying, yes, but and also George Lucas saying Jar Jar is the key to all of this. There's the reason why
that is I love that clip every time I see it.
There is also the fact that Jar Jar just so happens to look almost exactly like the Gungan leader. And
in the Clone Wars,
you could then take that and tie it into the fact that at one point his voice changes because Ahmed Best wasn't available.
Right.
And think, what if he was up to something and he was asked, okay, can you go and retrieve these 2 Jedi that got captured by pirates? And he says, absolutely. And then goes and talks to his decoy and says, I have something I need to do. Can you take on this thing for me so that I can go off and do Sith stuff?
And he gets the decoy idea from Padme.
Wait, has anyone mentioned the fact that also Jar Jar created the Galactic Empire?
Yeah. I mean, that's the one people mostly I feel like attribute to the Darth Jar Jar theory is the fact that he technically was the one that's like proposing.
And also another one that people point out is he had Force foresight. You know the scene where Anakin and Obi-Wan arrive in the elevator? Jar Jar had purposely gone over there to wait, like he knew that they were coming when we know that he couldn't have, and then he acted surprised, like he was acting like he's playing a character. He literally walked over to them and then jumped. Why would he walk over to it and then jump? He knew that they were coming. That's the only reason he walked over there. And then he acts surprised at the last minute to play the clown.
I got you guys. So this is going to be like the episode 1 short story collection, like that we had for, all the OT. This is my Jar Jar theory. Scrap the God idea entirely. That's not it. I have a better explanation for why he just disappears after episode 3. It's because he's secretly, in disguise, he is the father of shadows. He helps bring along everything. And then he just dips. After
Jar Jar was left-handed. Typho Gem confirmed.
Oh my god. See, this is why we do EU stories, is so we can confirm the Darth Jar Jar theory.
So I can write Jar Jar as a Sith Lord. We know
his son is killed by Darth Vader. Absabar Binks from the Tantive 4 story, from the manga. Yeah, that's a good one. I know Arthur knows what I'm talking about with those manga stories.
We're cooking something right now, guys.
Yeah, so how does Absabar tie into it? Perhaps Absabar, like Palpatine, devised cloning, Jar Jar devised cloning, and Absabar was an escaping clone. I think we've got it. Yeah.
Good Lord.
What's happening May 6th? May 2nd, Phantom Menace is coming back for the 25th anniversary. I got the date wrong, though. May 4th, I think they're putting the original trilogy back in theaters. And then May 5th, they're putting the prequel trilogy back in theaters. May 6th, I think they're trying to put the sequel trilogy back in theaters as well. But I'm hoping to see the prequel trilogy on May 5th. Hopefully. We'll see.
They will try.
They will try. Indeed.
You turned her against me. In my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Harry's here. Nice to see you. And Scott, the 2 Dathomir theory is interesting, but is it real, Marcel?
Do I actually believe that there's 2 Dathomirs? No, but if I were in charge of the expanded universe and had to fix TCW, I would definitely make it canon.
Would you pull like a Korriban versus Morband type thing where like one of them used to be called Dathomir. Like
I would do more like it was like these fake Night Sisters maybe got exiled from the real Dathomir, and they're like, well, we're going to start our own Dathomir, and then they just went
found they like kind of like renamed it or something.
Yeah, exactly. What happened to Arthur?
Yep.
It's like I hate his Dathomir theories.
He's back.
Okay, it's back.
Arthur, do you disagree with the two Dathomirs theory? Then you couldn't hear any more of it.
I like it.
Okay, good. 2 thumbs up.
Oh, but what about
He's got the Arthur seal of approval.
What about my father's shadows theory for Jar Jar?
Arthur?
No.
Okay. That's how we're.
You said that so perfectly.
I know.
Sorry, Alex. I can't even.
No, you're stupid. Shut up.
Wait, I know you're not even close to it, but Callum's comment: our own Dathomir with blackjack and hookers. It's a great Futurama reference.
Oh, I just saw Matt's comment.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely got Sheev undies on. His face just plastered on every orifice.
You saw Jonathan in the video, Matt? Nice.
You know what looks really fake is that picture you sent me where he's jacked. That looked photoshopped.
Yeah, that's not one for the stream.
No.
Some people were saying, yeah, I see that. I love when Marcel decides to put the Filoni hat of me on there. But some people in the comments said that my brother was an AI fan because I don't have a brother because of the Matt Wilkins theory that my brother doesn't exist. People said it was an AI and that the TCW figures he had in the background gave it away as like an AI attempt to show an EU fan video or something like that. It was very amusing.
That'd be a pretty impressive AI video.
Baloney got Yubnub into the expanded universe. That's pretty crazy. The Knight Errant gang, they're rising up. They are strong.
Are they though?
They're a legion.
Oh no, you're gonna summon her back, dude.
There's more of us. There's.
My Father Shadow's Jar Jar theory has more weight than Knight Errant being a super good book.
Bro.
Whoa!
I'm just trying to get. I'm just trying to bait her back in. I'm just trying to wait. I want to summon her again.
I love the Dawn of the Jedi comics as well. Oh wow, it's a threat now, Alex. Tread carefully.
Whoa! No need for violence here.
You'll just disappear.
Those are fighting words from Maxine.
Maybe I can't come to Legends Con 2 this year, guys. I don't know.
It's gonna be risky.
Danger on every corner now.
Danger, Will Robinson.
I'm gonna go for a hug, and she's gonna go for a punching me to the chest.
It's gonna be Dragon Ball in real life.
Mace Windu, Clone Wars 2003.
Yeah.
Yusa and Big Doo-Doo this time, Alex.
Yeah, I guess so. She just said I'll perish, so.
I love that. I think that we need to use Arthur to veto all decisions for the EU community going forward.
Yeah.
Like Marcel's 2 Dathomir theory, thumbs up.
What is that?
Alex's Father of Shadow series, just no. All right. Yeah. Now that we got that settled, it seems like that would be an easy way to decide things going forward. Like we just bring various like Hand of Thrawn stories. We're like, is this canon? Yes or no? And we
Arthur.
Just do that going forward.
Yes.
Whoa.
Semi.
You decide if it's your canon.
Yeah,
you
get
true. Really sensitive if you try to tell them something is the canon.
I think that's why we're here for the 10-year anniversary, isn't it?
Yeah.
A few of us were a little sensitive when we were told it wasn't canon anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Christopher's here.
Alex, you actually made me jump. What have you guys been reading recently in the EU? What have you guys been going through? I know Alex, Millennium Falcon, Arthur, Supernatural Encounters.
I uploaded that today, but I'm on a bit. I'm on Backlash.
I'm in kind of a tough spot. I'm in the Crystal Star area of time. I'm in the Bantam phase, so I got my my crystal star. I've got my I've got dark saber that I'm working on. I've got those. So that's where I'm at. A lot of it's good. Some of it's not as good.
So Alex, what are you on then?
I'm on Fate of the Jedi Backlash. I've been
I love Backlash.
I record ahead
of time. How does the fandom feel about Backlash? Because I thought it ruled. People say that Aaron Alston
me and Marcel are not big fans of Backlash, I don't believe. Marcel can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. I haven't actually started yet, but I remember finding it extremely boring.
Are you reading them or are you listening to the audiobooks? Because the audiobooks are really solid.
I'm reading them. I took a break to read Winds of Dune, so I'm not there yet.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Audiobooks is solid.
I like the Abyss. It's my favorite so far.
You don't like the Rancor King of the Hill?
I don't remember it. I'll have to see on my reread. I might like it more this time, but from memory, I remember finding it boring. I don't know. I don't remember why.
I do like the side quest in Fate of the Jedi where it's just like we're gonna take Alana to like the dangerous exotic pets exchange, and I don't know. That was like exotic dangerous animals Petco.
That was in Omen, right?
Yeah, it was fun. I kind of enjoyed that.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Fate of the Jedi. Not as good as Legacy of the Force for me personally, but still really good.
I feel like that's a hot take on some of the forums I've been to for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is.
Supernatural Encounters for the third-ish time. That's incredible. I've only read it once. I'd like to read it a second time, but I'm kind of doing that with my breakdown videos. Third-ish time is beautiful. That is so cool.
Hey, Marcel, you probably can't remember from your 75 hours of Superlit, but did anybody catch the Clark Ashton Smith Hyperborea reference on page 183?
Probably didn't appreciate it at the time because I believe when we were in the first couple of books of reading Supernatural Encounters, I hadn't experienced Clark Ashton Smith.
Right.
Did Brennan just leave his own stream? That's incredible. But we did catch Zothique, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Spelt with
a Z instead of or a Z. Sorry, as you Americans say, instead of.
What's cool about the Hyperborea reference, or why I'm rather proud of myself, is that you can't look this one up to know that it's from Clark Ashton Smith because it doesn't have any searchable names or anything. Like one of the very few things I searched was something from the game Gladius, because I was like, I bet I can search that. But the one bit about Hyperborea, which is a story cycle from weird fiction author Clark Ashton Smith, if you don't know, set in the past during with warring wizards and stuff like that, and they're fighting weird tales type entities and evils, and it talks about how the architects basically they're cued into the rising evil, right? And then there's like a little paragraph about how that to help them out, they armed some wizards with staffs and stones in their staffs and stuff like that. And it's just this one paragraph, and it's very clearly alluding to Clark Ashton Smith's Hyperborea cycle. It was really cool.
I remember that specific passage. I don't know that I appreciated that it was Clark Ashton Smith at the time.
That's wild. Yeah. That's
Are you reading the accompanying endnotes as you make your way through the book?
Should I be?
Yes.
I'm not. Oh,
they enrich the experience, in my opinion.
Okay. Wait, of Clark Ashton Smith or of Supernatural Encounters?
Both.
Okay, yeah.
But I specifically meant Supernatural
until you told me to, and then.
Yeah, I specifically meant Supernatural Encounters. Clark Ashton Smith, the endnotes are interesting because it kind of sets the historical context for what was going on at the time when he wrote those stories.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I better do that.
But I think it was. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Kristian.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like I made a mistake not getting the Amazon copies, because I don't like to double dip, and so I'm trying to wait until I maybe at Legends Con next time around they'll have hardcovers.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I want to know what you guys are talking about so bad.
Well, I mean, Clark Ashton Smith is okay, fair enough. But Clark Ashton Smith, I definitely recommend checking him out. He's and you can find most of his work probably for free online, but Amazon has like 5 paperback or hardcover volumes of his fiction, of his like short stories and fiction, and really just like, hey, Brennan, welcome back. Like,
Thank you.
Kind of like an unsung hero of weird tales. Like Joe says it much more eloquently than I ever could, but there was like H.P. Lovecraft, Robert E. Howard, and Clark Ashton Smith, right? And they formed this kind of trifecta of like weird tales authors in the 30s. And so many of Smith's ideas were later taken and kind of co-opted and made into like movies and books and stuff, but he never really got credit for it. Whereas like Lovecraft got credit, at least posthumously, for a lot of his work. And Robert E. Howard, of course, is even today known as the creator of Conan, which is still like a pretty thriving property. But CAS kind of flies under the radar and deserves much more recognition than he's ever gotten historically. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, there's the first page of Supernatural Encounters where Joe, credits the authors that inspired, I think, him and Star Wars, can be taken as a bonus reading list once you finish with Supernatural Encounters. I would hesitate to say any of it's certainly not recommend or required, but I'd hesitate to say any of it's even recommended, because people get all worked up. But the Cthulhu mythos specifically, having read those, the bare bones that Lovecraft wrote has greatly enhanced just the first 3 books that I read. I would recommend that personally.
Totally.
But by the way, I think I got to the Mars section, and I read I read Princess of Mars, and like all I understood from the Mars section was the word Barsoom and Tharks. Yeah,
that wasn't. That was. I think if I had to name one part of SE that I struggled through the most, other than some of the Earthworld stuff, it would be the Mars section specifically, because I wasn't engaged in the. I remember like Maxine and I were talking about this like months and months ago when we first read the book.
That was an incredibly dense section.
I think it name drops what Clark Ashton Smith's name for Barsoom is. It's like Barthoom or something like that.
But Brennan asked what I am reading right now. I'm reading a Stephen King book called If It Bleeds. It's a collection of novellas that he and one of them actually I found it was made into a Netflix film like 2 years ago. That was poorly received.
Have you seen? There's a sketch video that's popular from a big Stephen King.
So on my screen, Alex
channel.
is frozen. Is that correct?
Alex
is gone,
out.
man.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Marcel, there's a sketch from a.
Everyone except him.
Okay. Is Brendan here? He's frozen.
Oh, well, he's here.
He's here. He was talking the same time you were.
Okay, that explains it. I'm gonna exit out and try to come back in. Maybe it'll refresh my internet.
Sweet.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
You're good.
Just rambling.
You're completely good. There's a Stephen King sketch from a booktuber who became like a sketch YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And he has a video called How Stephen King Got the Ideas for All of His Books.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Have you seen it?
No, but I'd like to now.
I'll get it over to you. I'll
send it my way.
Yeah. He also
I don't know
does
when
some
I'm
Dune ones as well.
I was thinking about your video that you put out today, and that's so epic that it was playing for 6 hours today. Just like you just tune in at any time and hear people talking about how much they love the expanding universe.
It was
just
really cool.
just fantastic idea, and I'm so glad that you did it, and I'm so glad that so many people contributed to it. But I don't know when I'm going to find the time to watch all of it all the way through.
I was about to say, yeah, I still haven't seen yours, Marcel. I still haven't seen yours.
I think mine's in like the 4-hour, 45-minute mark or something like that, if I recall.
I made sure to be meticulous with the timestamps, so people can find their own.
That, by the way, that was nice.
I'm glad that was helpful. What was really funny is a lot of people were in the live chat. We were having a great old party in the live chat. A lot of people were like, "Yeah, it's 2 hours until mine. It's 3 hours until mine," and that was making me laugh.
Out of curiosity, and maybe this isn't like the most appropriate forum, but I've been like working all day. So was there any like anything that needed to be moderated in the live chat or anything like that?
There was one troll, but they were dealt with.
They were dealt with. Okay,
that's ominous.
It was
yeah.
Other than that, extremely brimming with positivity.
That's what I like to hear.
It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle. And also, I highlighted this comment for a while. That's absolutely hilarious. I will commit felonies in the name of Fate of the Jedi.
I will commit felonies in the name of Fate of the Jedi.
Change Fate of the Jedi for all of the expanded universe, and I'm with you on that. That's hilarious.
It's funny because I would commit felonies to prevent Fate of the Jedi from ever coming out.
Oh my god!
Oh man,
you just re-summoned her.
I'm kidding.
Oh, the timestamps are off. I tried to go back and watch the beginning, and the timestamps were acting up. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. I'll check on that. There was supposed to be. So what you mentioned for like when will I have time to see it all?
Yeah.
I've edited a best of cut down to like where I had it, and I might take it down even more. I had it at like 40-ish to 45-ish minutes. And basically I was taking like what I thought was the best of what everyone said. And that was hard to do because almost every video has like 5 or 6 best of moments. But I was just picking the bits that were like most impactful, were most profound or whatever, or stuck out to me the most, and putting them together. And basically like 20 to 30 seconds, maybe more, maybe a little less of each person's video to make it more manageable so that people can at least see some of it. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm glad to know that the most profound part of my video was the swole Jar Jar. I'm glad that's appreciated.
Yeah, it's just, I just zoomed the video in and it's like just that part.
I just crop it out. It's literally just Jar Jar.
Abeloth screaming.
Yeah, because I made that comment about Fate of the Jedi. But I did want to say, like, I was very I was very unmotivated to provide Brennan with a video because I was like, what can I possibly say? And then I forget who it was. Someone told me, they're like, just whatever, just say, it doesn't have to be special. Maybe it was Arthur actually who told me this. I think it was you, Arthur. You're like, it doesn't have to be special. Just like say what's on your, like, stop trying to make it like stand out or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send him like a 1 to 2 minute video and just say my piece.
Then you sent me a 7-minute video and it was beautiful.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of had the same mindset where I put it off for so long because I was like, I really want to like have specific setups for what I'm going to say and really just, I don't know how I'm going to say things. And eventually I was just like, okay, I have free time. I just need to make it. All right, let's do this thing.
Right, I'm back. Sorry, I had to leave for a bit.
You're good.
Did you ask me anything while I was gone?
I had asked what everyone was reading.
Right. Well, next on my list is the Constancia affair and River of Chaos.
Ooh. Okay. I'm not a big fan of River of Chaos. The art actually gives me a headache. Which is probably not a good review for it. But it kind of gives me a headache. But the Constantia affair is good stuff. Are you reading through the EU comics chronologically?
No. I've read most, but not all of them. I haven't read Legacy yet.
Okay. Or do you know about Legacy, some of the spoilers already, or are you going into that blind?
I know who Darth Krayt is. I don't know how he got to that point, but I am very interested to see what it does with that.
Yes. It's a very interesting story. I really like Legacy. And yes, the voice of the trailers and of the audio, so very, very cool. Whenever you say something, it sounds like official to me. So like, if you could just say like, Brennan was right about Wood Wars.
I know. No, don't say that.
Maybe if I walk up to one of the higher ups at Lucasfilm and say the EU is continuing, they'll just believe it.
What you should do is you should go find Miss Kathleen Kennedy and say there is source material, and then she'll be, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, this audiobook is going to be incredible. I'm very much looking forward to it as well. Very much looking forward to it. Now, I did announce on my community post in regards to the best of cut that we were previously talking about a minute ago. I was going to put it out tomorrow, but so I have it all like edited on my editing app. But because of the storage, I have all the videos on an external flash drive. And that flash drive is literally full with how many videos were submitted, which is great. But I misplaced a flash drive. I thought it was in a different room, so I wasn't able to export the video in time. So now I'll probably delay it back to like maybe May 4th might be a good time to put it out. But for like you were saying, Marcel, like finding time to sit down and actually watch it all the way through, that's something that I don't think anyone ever expected would be possible. But so at least if there's this best of cut, then yeah, you'll be able to watch it. Matt says Arthur is so still like a statue. Never mind. But yeah.
Now you got to figure out how to top this for the 11 year.
For 11 years. Yeah, I will say I'm not doing anything next year. I'll go ahead and announce that.
Oh
but
my gosh, confirmed.
Maybe 15 or 20. I don't know. We have a guest with us though all the way from Australia who is joining us. It's always good when the time zones can align and I can talk to Callum. How's it going, Callum?
Good to see you.
Yeah, man. The time zones work out finally for once that I have free time.
Good to meet you.
It's wonderful. Oh, you've got
like
your
12:15 here.
Nice. Marcel's switched to his crystal profile picture as well.
Cerveza. Callum has Callum, you should plug your website, man.
It's
CallumsCantina.com is it basically. Yeah. Fighting Callum on a live stream. Well, that means we'll actually see each other. Let's go. Let's go. Maybe you pay for me to come over for Legends Con and we just have a full-on brawl at Legends Con.
I'll put down money on the winner. Wait, are you taller than that, Callum? I've got to know this first.
How tall is Matt in centimeters?
Matt,
that's thank you. Finally,
Finally. I don't understand Imperial.
Finally, this is what it feels like when doves cry.
Yeah, so I've got my website callumscantina.com that I did earlier this year. I've made it public, and that's a place where I can share the screen probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do.
There we go.
Let's take a look. But first, Callum has a mean left hook.
But yeah,
Matt hears. Can you confirm?
Well, I did karate for a couple of years, so quite possibly.
Yeah. This is sounding plausible.
So it sounds plausible.
Arthur would have to back up Matt, it sounds like.
So yeah, I've done this as a thing of where I'm putting up my own things and stuff, and basically I've got my timeline on there, so it's easily accessible to everyone, and it's not just a PDF download.
Yeah.
And so we've broken it up for the eras, and I've also done a page with the complete saga, which is all of the eras together and stuff
I've had
like
your
that.
timeline as a PDF on my desktop since 2019.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Are you able to drop a link in the chat?
Yeah,
I think we can.
I don't know why I closed the tab with the chat. I can paste the link in there, but I don't know if it will actually.
Can I do like a
link
pinned
or
comment of a link in the StreamYard?
Quite possibly. It's easy because it's callumscantina.com, so I themed it after my rebranding of the name and stuff.
It's this. It's just this typed in.
Yep. That's a link there. There we go. That linked properly too, so that's good.
Sick. Yeah,
and so, I've got my timeline over there. I made it so that when you're in the timeline, all of the sidebar turns up.
Yeah. And
all of that good stuff.
Your one of your intentions that we've talked about is to kind of replicate the old data bank.
Yeah, so I've been not doing new entries for a while, but the idea you can see here is started with the 4th precept, and I can click on that, and so we have a post with the 4th precept with my cut. I make sure to put custom canon here because I think that works well for cataloging it, even if it's not exactly how the holocron works, because we shouldn't be looking at that publicly as much. It's just how I classify it in the timeline. So it all works together on the website. But then I've done that similar to, like, I look at Wikipedia, and then I've looked at how the old databank worked with giving some information. And so it will work in progress, and hopefully we can get some more people on board to help keep up with it consistently too, of going, okay, we've got the 4th precept, which I give a short description and a little summary and continuity notes. And then, of course, we have to look at all the other bits and pieces. So it's in the Omnibus Wildspace Volume 2. You click on that, you'll be able to see the entry for that. And then, of course, I'm just putting in stuff related to each story entry as I go.
Filling out the links so far and building from there.
Yeah, and so like this, obviously this has more than just the 4th precept in it, but as I do the entries, I'll add into it and do that. And
yeah.
It should be a really good resource when it's all up.
Is this just you that put this together? How many people are involved in this?
In its current state, it's just me. I have a group chat on Facebook of people that have said that they're interested in helping put it together as well. So
if you'd like to
relieve the
perhaps be involved or contribute or add to it, then reach out to Callum then. About getting involved.
Discord's probably the best place to reach me because I'm on my own server a fair bit, even if I spend all my time on my own server and don't look at others, because otherwise I just wouldn't have time for anything.
Yeah.
That's so valid.
I hear that.
Because it's like everyone has an amazing Discord server, and it's like as soon as I join this one and this one and this one, now there's no more time in the day, you know?
Yeah. Thinking of watching movies and things, I share when I watch movies and stuff in my own Discord, and I've got it set up so people can watch along and stuff.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
That's a bonus too. And eventually I might rewatch TCW and take notes. So I'll share that while I do it.
Like with Matt's rewatch.
In a way, I watched through all of the featurettes because I wanted the first-hand information. So I have a document with all of the things I noted from the featurettes. And it's like, okay, I need to check it. Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy.
Does the misery loves company apply here?
We'll see.
For TCW, I've got to admit, I watched it when I was like with my brother. Fond memories of that.
Yeah. And if we take out the continuity errors, I like a fair few of the episodes, although some of them are just like overall, like it's sort of average. Like it's in that middle tier for me. Overall,
Marcel, Marcel, do you remember Forgiving Filoni?
Yeah, I do.
That was we did a podcast, me, Marcel, and Alex, called Forgiving Filoni, where we kept trying to forgive him. It was really funny.
I do forgive him.
Yeah.
But my Tommy gun don't. No, I'm just kidding.
You've been smooching with my Ahsoka, yeah.
I you know what? Whatever. It's just me. The guy's doing a job, and I don't agree with any of the creative decisions that he's made in the last decade. But more power to him. He's now in charge of everything. So
blunt knives are fine then.
Not so sure he is,
yeah.
Oh, that voice sounds so much better in headphones.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Glorious, isn't it?
Yes.
I have to affect a voice when I do my narrations, and Robert just that's how he speaks.
And that's when he knew he spoke. Yes.
So the website's looking really great. I personally would love to see it become like a I'd personally like to see it become like as it fills out. Maybe one day I'll use it more than Wikipedia if I need to look up information. That would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be a plan, because there's been talks about like a EU version of Wikipedia, an EU wiki for a long time, and yet there seems to be it was just such a huge effort that people wouldn't be able to manage it.
Yeah.
That would be smart though, because
it'd be really good.
It would.
It almost seems like the current Wikipedia does not want to give much attention to that side of the fandom.
But I am following the just make up your own mind with TCW thinking of that.
It seems
that's all of the
on Wikipedia is very out of date. They don't really fill it in very much anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
In addition to some of the later stuff like Skywalkers and later short stories later in the EU, there's a lot of stubs for character pages.
Mm-hmm. And obscure stuff just misses some really obvious information, like some release dates and things on them. If it's possible to find it at all.
Yeah.
As you can see on the sidebar, I've got new things come up. I put a couple of short stories up recently, so this is, I guess that would be the next thing to look at. Is I'm putting up all of the short stories on the site too.
The story itself.
That's awesome.
The text.
Yes.
So it'll be a
the
great
Adventures
archive.
of Lowery Brock Jedi Ranger has
From
the
Kindle
story
Daily
there
Blog.
with text.
Yeah.
Oh, Skywalker Chronicles.
And I
That's
link it where it's
interesting.
possible.
Did you see Matt's comment about what Callum was supposed to put out once the first billboard was fundraised?
No. Where?
Callum, what do you have to say for yourself? It's right above that one.
So the SWTOR.com stories.
What?
I was thinking that I might. I don't know how legally that would go since they're on the SWTOR site. I might just link those instead of putting the text in. We'll see how that goes.
Gotcha. I'm assuming you're going to deny Matt's allegation.
I've elected to ignore it.
Do you plead the fifth?
We're not up to the fifth short story yet.
My client's representative will not be answering any further questions.
We don't have the same laws between countries, so I'm not beholden.
There's a communication barrier, clearly.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite the rumor, Matt. Matt's just full. Matt's full of rumors.
Dang, I'm getting all kinds of visuals I didn't really need to see today. You can
wear wiry thongs for the 11th. Easy.
I must say I really like this. This is my explanation for TCW as well. That's the basic events in TCW happened, but they were doctored to be in-universe reels based on it. That's why Anakin's like so happy as a hero. Like
that's why
in the other
I
material,
place my headcanon placement of it in S-canon. In my way I think of it is like the events happened, but the details might be off, and that falls under that sort of category.
That's how I approach it as well. Matt's full of ideas right now. his neurons are firing on a superhuman level, quite frankly.
Hang on, Arthur, I have a question for you, since you've kept up with the Disney stuff. Do they have an explanation now for Anakin's scar? Because that was one of the things that carried over from the EU when they started doing the Clone Wars. Although
I do not think so, no.
Because that was a thing that happened in Republic.
In Clone Wars, yeah.
And yet the
that's
article says they will dive deeper into Star Wars than ever before.
Was actually I wondered where the scar came from for the longest time, and
I think it's still. I think it's Ventress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Dreadnoughts of Rendili.
Yeah.
I did just
fantastic
have
arc.
Moment of clarity that should have been very obvious to me previously, but the reason I probably like Clone Wars or don't hate it as much is because it fits one of the two continuities that I've read just fine, just like the EU. So basically Disney canon to me.
Yeah, I like to include it as EU for the simple fact that I am greedy and I want more EU. Like that's why I'm willing to consider some of the like mangas canon to the EU. Why I'm like Fourth Precept canon, Storyteller canon, because I want more. I'm just like I've not had my fill of EU, so I'm just like everything that can be EU canon is, you know.
There's no reason anything in Visionaries isn't canon.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Yeah.
I didn't end up seeing the Clone Wars until much later, but I can perfectly understand why a lot of people would be very frustrated with the extent to which it, shall we say, made things difficult while the EU was still happening.
Well, that's the reason why it's hard for me to say I love it or anything. Is just I hate having to play mind games while watching it and being like, okay, well, maybe if this is that, then that could be that, and it just kind of hinders the enjoyment.
Oh, I love it. I want to do it as like a job. Just hire me. I will fix every single contradiction.
Marcella's going to be the new Leland Cheese.
9 Ventresses, like 8 even keels. It's going to be that like 12 Days of Christmas songs, like 8 even keels, 5 Addy Gallias, 4 Dathamirs.
That is wonderful.
Oh, it's gonna be glorious. I'm gonna fix it all.
I cannot wait. And that would actually be a good Christmas narration for the Revanchist.
No, what I want to do
for TCW
is like provide 4 different explanations for every single issue, and then just have people choose their own adventure. Choose the one that sounds the least stupid to you.
I'm going with 17 Asajj Ventresses. That makes the most sense to me.
4,000 Ahsokas.
Matt Wilkins says Robert needs to read audiobooks for a living. He's got the voice.
Exactly.
That's a eureka moment for Matt. Right there. Yeah.
Actually, why I gave up Matt, because I heard Robert. How does Ahsoka die? She slips on a hujib and falls down a hole, and you never hear about her again.
And that was at the bottom of the Jedi Temple steps.
Whoa.
Well, my headcanon for the EU is that Ahsoka died. Well, if she exists in the EU, she died in Order 66. Because there was that thing about George Lucas originally wanting to kill her off in Order 66, and Dave Filoni say, no, I have plans. I'd like to do more with the character.
Yeah.
So you could look at the Disney timeline as that and the EU as well the other thing, if you were inclined.
But that would ruin my dream of some kind of Starkiller Ahsoka interaction of some kind.
You want the EU's like Gary Stu and Mary Sue to
Yes.
meet up?
Yeah.
We know from the Force Unleashed 2 comic that Vader was also trying to clone other people too.
True.
Yeah.
So,
So you have an Ahsoka clone?
how
Is
many
that-
Ahsokas do you want?
Oh no!
I mean, we got Maul Killer out of that as well, which is
That's
an
true.
EU lore tidbit that I love to point to. Maul
Yes.
Killer
Sorry.
is canon.
I thought seasons 5 and 6 of TCW were Maul Killer because they destroyed his character.
Yeah, I was gonna say perhaps that it should have
I was
been-
waiting for the punchline.
Yeah,
He's not in
Yeah.
season 6.
and I meant 4 and 5. Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't keep it straight with that show. I would have just kept Darth Maul, like Darth Maul Shadowhunter and the Dark Horse 4-part comic that preceded Shadowhunter and Lockdown were like perfect Maul stories. Like
They're great.
just keep him dead in after Phantom Menace. Like, don't bring him back.
Staying dead isn't a thing anymore. It doesn't exist.
I know.
Made up.
I know.
I think it's just because of like when I watched TCW as a kid, but I was so hyped when Maul came back. I think because of the age I was when I watched that, I don't mind him coming back as much as I should. I know it doesn't make sense. I know that it's better if he should have just died in Phantom, but there's a part of me that enjoys his stories, his revenge arc in TCW that I kind of like a little bit. Like one of my favorite TCW graphic novellas is the Sith Hunters one, where he like fights against the Bruce Lee Jedi. That's just a stupid fun just battle. It's called Sith Hunters. It's fun stuff.
That story could have
And-
taken place pre-TPM though.
Yeah, you're right.
And that makes Old Wounds viable.
Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
Old Wounds does become
in a
viable.
way, even if you don't agree with Maul coming back, like I only watched TCW later as well, and so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. But the whole thing with Old Wounds would not be able to be canon in Visionaries if that didn't really happen, because it's just doing the same thing again.
I just saw that my channel was linked on your website. I hadn't realized that previously. Thank you, Callum. Appreciate that.
I've got a
That's cool.
bunch of the defending Star Wars EU resources because we want to do all of the connections together. So I've got a bunch of YouTube channels that I know do EU stuff on
You
here.
should add
couple of
Arthur's
guys.
channel to there.
Well,
Yeah, I haven't even been aware.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
don't rush into that.
I think.
Well,
Arthur
I have
makes
some
good
people
stuff.
on here that do a video like once every few months or something. So
Yeah.
That's fun. But yeah, I've got also the resources, the tabletop role-playing games. I have links to download it.
Yeah, I that's very helpful.
It's
I
really
was
great
like,
work.
because-
I was like salivating over this page when I saw it, and it's
Because,
formatted
especially
well, too.
because I found everything myself, and there's no way to legally get digital copies of them. So there you are.
Out of curiosity, how do you have Labyrinth of Evil and Clone Wars 03? How do they fit into your timeline?
I put them where they fit.
As far as like,
As
'cause-
far as the specific thing, I guess you mean, rather than the.
because I know that's contradicting like the ending of Clone Wars and Labyrinth of Evil. Like that's there's a lot of
Well,
confusion.
Yeah, it
the,
doesn't fit
the way
together
that I
very well.
think of it is like there's just two different points of views that the story's being told of from. So I tend to personally take novel details over anything in a visual medium because they can be much more specific and accurate. However, of course, with the movies, they take a bit more precedence because of the way that the universe works. But that said, everything works well.
I love this. website.
Yes.
So
Record the TTRPG and put it on YouTube, and let's have a burst of Star Wars role-playing game EU based.
I would
campaigns.
love that to happen. I would love there to be more Star Wars RPG focused stuff on YouTube. That would be fantastic.
I think I've just been making sure that I catch up to the sessions that we've done today. So I think session 8 of ours just went at 12 o'clock, even if the recording isn't perfect. Hey, it's there, and we're playing, and it'll be great fun.
Nice.
West End Games, or
and we're recording another one tomorrow. That's why I'm like, I better get the other 2 sessions up today.
You guys are doing the WEG, right? Not Wizards of the Coast?
We're doing Saga Edition. So we started doing West End Games, and then we did Saga Edition, and then we tried Fantasy Flight Games, and then we picked which one we liked best.
I heard
and
Fantasy
then from
Flight
our
Games
experience, we adjusted.
I heard Fantasy Flight Games was like difficult to run. Is that true?
On Roll20, it's not too bad because you can add the custom dice with the API stuff, but you do have to pay for it for Roll20 to be able to set up the game. But I played Fantasy Flight with my parents first because I found a beginner game set, and it was actually something that was a lot easier for them to understand. Like, there's the symbols on the dice rather than raw numbers, especially when you don't know the maths as much.
Nice.
That sort
Are
of
there
thing.
anything else you'd like to show on the website?
Well, in the back end, I might put some other movie reviews and things up. That's why I've like gone blog, and then other things may come up.
You covered the Joris Sabayoth figure news, huh?
Yeah.
Latest news and stuff like that. That's great.
I purge a bunch of new canon stuff from my feeds, so I don't always see things coming up. And like, I put
Son of Luke always does a really good monthly update. So if you follow his channel, you can get a bunch of recent news for all the stuff that's pertaining to the EU.
And Dark Forces Remaster is great.
The Dark Forces
having all that.
I still don't have the Dark Forces remaster.
I got it on my Nintendo Switch on my birthday, and I just loved that. I sunk more hours into that. I've played it in full twice now. It is so fun.
I just bought it.
I love Dark Forces so much.
Just bought it a week ago, actually.
And it's so nice not to have to press page up and page down for the Y-axis.
Yes.
And it's just... Night Dive should do all the remasters.
They need to do more EU games. That felt like almost a new experience. It almost felt like new EU. Like the cutscenes being remastered and stuff. I was like, this is practically new EU. These are like new stills, new frames.
It is 10% off on Steam right now. And I think I saw Night Dive shared that it's 30% off on PlayStation. If you're looking for a sale.
That's awesome. I highly recommend it.
Of that. And then, of course, there's going to be all the Star Wars sales next month. So
for May 4th, yeah.
Yeah.
I was curious how well it would work on console, because first-person shooters typically, well, without trying to be a PC snob about it, they typically work better on PC because you have the extra precision offered by the mouse.
Yeah, I think they added in aimbot, and they did add a weapon wheel, so you're not pressing the numbers for each of the weapons.
Yeah, you can customize the controls too for like on the Switch. At least you could customize the controls. So I fiddled around with it and got stuff in a way that I found the configuration to be perfectly adequate for gameplay. I'm a horrible video game player though, so
I hate aiming with the controller.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I remember the original PS1 version of the original release was didn't work quite as well as the DOS version, but I imagine that would be partly a frame rate issue, because the PS1 well, the Nintendo 64 ran better. That's why.
Mhm.
That's why, for example, Doom 64 is considered something of a classic by those who played it.
Yeah, that's another point too. I've actually played through the whole SWTOR story now on streams. After like
You
6
even did
years
the
of streaming. 6
you did the
years.
date. You did the date thing as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did the date nights recently, and then because I only have one character that's actually caught up to all the story updates, I could only do one. So I don't know why, when you have the relationship with the character already, that you can't do the date night. But there you go.
Yeah. I really want to get into
That's
SWTOR,
fine.
but I would need a PC for that, and I unfortunately have an Apple laptop, which is horrible, obviously, for gaming. It's basically gaming on Apple is non-existent, so I basically can't do anything.
Mhm.
Which is
Brendan, when you do get when you join the 21st century and get a computer that can play SWTOR, because literally like a potato,
Yeah.
like with a wire sticking out of it, could play SWTOR. I would be happy to play with you. So
that would be awesome.
Yeah, hit me up and I'll like resub and
Yeah. I can't
play.
wait for that. That sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've definitely been considering getting a PC recently. Just like anything cheap, it'll at least run it, as opposed to what I currently have.
Especially because all of the good Star Wars games are older, you'd be able to run pretty much all of them on there.
True, yeah. And
Yeah,
Steam has pretty
emulators.
good sales for old Star Wars games too, doesn't it?
Hello there.
Yeah.
An EU
That's
guild.
Brady.
Yeah.
So if someone has an EU guild on the Shea Vizsla server now, so I'm really happy they added an Australian-based server. I moved all my characters over there.
Nice.
Well, you can move your characters from server to server. Interesting.
Yeah, you can transfer characters, and since I'd subbed since like the start of the game, I had. But in this time period, they gave like 16 free transfers to get people onto the server.
Right.
So I'm just like, great, that's all my characters, because I played all of the class stories before I streamed, and then I played them again.
There's so much to get into with SWTOR. I know like most of what I know from SWTOR, like storyline, is because of your channel, Callum.
Oh, nice.
Like I know like barely anything outside of like video game playthroughs.
Well, they're there. There's hours and hours of content of just watching streams and mucking around and having fun and playing through the game.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's kind of intimidating
got a
for me.
whole
That's been one of the hard parts about getting into it. Is I'm like, dude, I don't even know where to start.
MMOs are hard to get into. Like, at least SWTOR's a lot more story based, so that's a good place to start with. Just play through the game and take your time. And I didn't do any of the side quests in my playthroughs, and it took me 6 years.
We definitely need SWTOR novels.
I played SWTOR when it came out, but I was one of the beta testers for it, and
nice.
Oh wow.
I played through the Jedi Knight, Jedi. I was gonna say Jedi Inquisitor. That's not a thing. Jedi Consular. Can you imagine Jedi Inquisitor?
Jedi Inquisitor actually sounds so cool.
And technically, now that they've done the combat styles things, you could have the Inquisitor skill set on a Jedi.
True. Yeah. So I played through Consular, and then I came back to it like a few years later and played through Jedi Knight, and then I came back to it a few years later and played through like 3 other classes. So I have 3 left to go, and I've played through on my Jedi Knight. I've played through all the DLC content, but I think it's really easy to get into as like even if you've never played an MMO before, because it really like handholds it holds your hand through like those. There's like a starter planet for every single character class, and it really just kind of soft hands you the game.
Yeah, it's not a very difficult game overall.
That sounds good for someone like
entry
me
level.
who's terrible at video games and only plays them for the lore content. I told Arthur this. I always get mad when I die in a video game for like the EU, because that's not what would happen in the canon. Like I always play EU video games for the story, and so like I would always be like, so angry at myself. If like Starkiller died under my control,
To like
I'm
a
like,
stormtrooper.
that's not how it really happens. I'm like, Starkiller didn't actually die and respawn in the lore. I'm doing a terrible job with the canon playthrough.
The next level of the CD for sure.
Brief tangent. Yeah. Has anyone here ever played Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time?
Me.
No.
Yes.
I want to because I love Assassin's Creed, and I know it's like got a lot of inspirations from Prince Persia.
Well, the prince is narrating that as you play it, and if you die, he says something like, no, that's not what happened.
The narrator like chastises the player for being poorly skilled. Yeah.
I played that.
It seems like you could do that in a Stanley Parable style as well.
He's just like, excuse you, you idiot. Return to the start.
I will pay everything that I ever make in this life to get Mark Hamill to like voice over The Last Jedi. Be like, no, that's not what happened. And just, it's
Rewind.
like
He starts reading the 2013 novel.
Yes.
Mark Hamill's just like, and so we meet Jake Skywalker. Yeah.
If only. It's awesome.
Your website's wonderful, Callum. I'm very excited to see it continue to grow.
Indeed.
We've been streaming for 2.5 hours now, so I think we're gonna probably go towards wrapping up. As a final thing, though, I wanted to ask everyone just your final thoughts on this 10 years of being mostly without New Expanding Universe. Of course, we've gotten like canceled stories Unearthed and 108, which was a victory, new SWOTOR short stories, but largely without it. What's your reflection on that, and what's your hope for the next 10 years as we look to the next 10 years of our EU fandom? What would you like to see? And I'll leave the floor open for everyone to answer that, and then we'll probably wrap up. So whoever wants to take that first, I know those are two broad ideas, but whoever wants to tackle that, shoot.
Well, I'll go first because it's not that interesting. Because I've only been reading for 5 years, so it's not so much for me to say to reflect on the past 10 years. But it's a huge bummer because I'm just about done.
Yeah.
With the EU, that's a big bummer. That it's not finished. So hopefully it's finished. Something official, small for the main characters.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I can go next. I'm not upset like I used to be. I'm still bewildered and confused, but I'm not upset anymore. Alex saw my profile picture. I think that for me, the reason why I got into the expanded universe in the first place is because I wanted to know more about the story. I wanted to learn. I literally just wanted the universe to expand. I wanted to understand what was going on behind the scenes, who these background characters were in the cantina and in Jabba's palace and all that stuff. And so I gravitated towards those early source books by Dan Wallace, where, the Essential Guide to Characters. And I hadn't read any of the books yet and realized that, oh my God, all these people have their own stories and their own, goals and motivations, and it just made the universe feel more real to me. And so I would go back and watch those films and be like, haha, yeah, that guy in the cantina, I know exactly what he was doing right before this scene occurred. And it just made it more special to me to know, to have that background info and in a way that it all made sense and it all fit. But I mean, the expanded universe is like, it's alive and well, right? I mean, we could talk about supernatural encounters, but even putting that aside, just talking about it with other people continues to expand my perception of the Star Wars universe. I learn new things every day for something that I thought I'd known nearly everything about. Even just learning how to, learning like a new perspective or someone else's opinion on something, or something maybe I hadn't considered before, like that's going to continue for as long as I'm an EU fan, and more EU fans come onto the scene and bring their own perspectives with them. So for me, this is like, this is not 10 years for me. This is like a continuation of 30-ish years almost. So I don't know. I look forward to the next 30 years with the expanding universe.
Yeah, and I have a lot of similar sentiments. I know that for me, despite it's very unlikely that we'll get new content, but almost more importantly for me, going forward, I just hope that despite not getting new content, the community can stay strong in proactive and communicating with each other and sharing their passion for all these stories with each other. Because for me, again, I was for the longest time invested in the EU by myself, and it wasn't until more recently that I started talking with people that shared that passion and are telling me things that I never knew about the EU, or introducing me to things that, it's such a vast, huge shared story that, despite it being over, it's not really over. Like I'm constantly learning new things, and I just want people to, keep me in the loop about things I never knew, I didn't even know, and having conversations with people who, again, share that love. And so I think that's, as long as that's happening, I'm fine. And so I'm just hoping people don't drift apart, and people don't forget, and people don't go their separate ways.
Yeah. Callum?
I guess, yeah. I was like, who's going to go first? All right. I've encapsulated a lot of videos in like the 3-part series that I've done, which is complete now. So I guess for more detail, you can go in there. But overall, I just feel like I still haven't read everything. So I haven't been rushing it. So of course, it's like, okay, take my time and enjoy it a bit more. And so I just feel like there's always going to be stuff there. So I was never really dead as such, because I'll always have stuff to read. And then as we continue on, I love to do more of this sort of stuff, of coming on and talking about it when the time zones work out, and all of that stuff. Do some other collab sorts of things. Anyone that wants to do the RPGs, well, have a separate Discord server that's just for facilitating TTRPGs if you're interested, even if you only come on for 1 or 2 sessions, or when you can make it.
I'll have to check out your channel, Callum. I don't think I've seen any of your stuff. But
yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure why that happens, but sometimes it feels like I get shadow banned on YouTube for something.
Brutal.
Yeah, I've
maybe
talked
it's the
about
time
it for
zones.
ages.
Yeah,
time zones. Yeah, I put the videos up when it's a good time zone for here. So maybe.
yeah.
But yeah, I've done a lot of stuff on there, and I've gravitated more toward the video games, so I'm going to be keeping playing those. I think I started Force Unleashed on streams, and then I'm going to have those up
Your
soon
Dark
too.
Forces remaster series was awesome. I enjoyed all of those.
Thanks. Yes.
Callum was the
I'm
first.
glad I broke it up that way.
Yeah, Callum was the first YouTube channel that ever like invited me on, gave me anything to say. So I'm like eternally grateful for that. I was like, I had horrible internet and a high voice and a sniffy nose, but Callum tolerated me, and I'm very appreciative of him for that.
People that will come on and talk about the EU, I'm very happy. I think I say in my last video, if anyone wants to come on and talk about things, or if you want to do your own little video talking about something, then I'm happy to give a platform to anyone that may not have their own channel and do their own thing. And I might do that as a bit of a reaction to the video type thing I was thinking, so that it's like a back and forth discussion. Like I put up a couple of videos recently where someone sent me a cast letter video to talk about lore and stuff, and then so in that sort of way having a discussion around that too is really cool.
Yeah,
okay, that's good. So I think I'll just keep doing that sort of stuff, and it'll be really cool. And it just seems like 10 years, okay, things have settled now, and then we're going to keep going in this more positive way compared to some of the drama that's happened in the past through the years. So I really enjoyed that. And it's really good to see more people coming into, like, new people that have only read EU for 5 years or something. It's like, yes.
The more the merrier.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
taking your first steps into a larger world.
Exactly.
To Callum's point, I can go next, and then we'll finish with Robert. What everyone said is sparked me thinking, because as always, everyone makes really good points. So I appreciate all of your thoughts and your thinking. I think that the first 10 years may have been rough for some people because there was like fracturing in all directions. When something like this happens, it's so monumental that like completely wipes a slate. There's going to be repercussions and fallout. Like I wasn't a part of that fallout because I hadn't joined the fandom yet. But when I did join the fandom, like 11 years old, going online, there's like animosity from certain areas, from certain portions, and it's understandable. There's going to be a fracture, a split, and it seemed like there was maybe directionless for a while, but Marcel's profile picture. It seems like we're going in a really positive direction right now, and I think that's really great. Like as a cohesive fandom, if you could call us a cohesive fandom, but I'm really excited for the next 10 years because, like Callum said, more people. We want more Expanding Universe fans of all ages from everywhere, from all over the world, to just join and talk about it with us and strengthen the community. And what Kristian said struck me as well. Like, we've got to like not drift apart further. We shouldn't fall back into like the cataclysm of splintering off into our own groups. Like the most we can stay cohesive, like in the fandom, and continue meeting and talking about all this stuff. Because I experienced like being an EU fan by myself, reading the books and comics, and it felt very lonely when no one who's a Star Wars fan at like school or my age has heard of Quinlan Vos. Like that's disheartening. But like on here, it would be harder to find someone who hasn't heard of him, in these EU circles, which is just beautiful.
That's a great point.
Yeah, it's great, and I'm very optimistic about the next 10 years. What do I want to see? Exactly what Arthur talked about. I want to see conclusions to at least the main stories. We don't need to have like, not at first. I'm not asking for like a Volvith Mon trilogy of novels about that one wolf Jedi in Clone Wars 2003. That would be great. But first, let's take care of the main characters, resolve their stories. It would be really wonderful to see. Then we can get our Volvith Mon trilogy after that. And I think there's an order of business that we can see continuation. I'm very optimistic and excited about the next 10 years. Hopefully it's going to be better than the first 10.
So was it Alex that brought up Star Trek?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I may not be a Star Trek fan, but I have the utmost respect for the fact that they did, what was it called, the Coda trilogy, to conclude their EU.
Yeah.
And they made a point of saying, we don't want to do a Star Wars and just say, sorry, the stuff that you've been reading for the last however many decades doesn't matter and never did.
Did they really say that?
I'm paraphrasing slightly, but
essentially,
yes.
the
like a version of that.
The
Because that's cool if they even like
they're
a version of that.
They're basically like,
Star
this
Trek
is
thing.
what you're gonna get. Kind of, wasn't that what they said? They were like, this is the end, because we want to like put a cap on it, kind of.
The thing that hurt the most with Star Wars is that there was no transition. It was just, okay, now it's new canon.
Yeah.
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 No, that would be nice. I like the idea
really cool for Star Trek.
of a coda of some kind.
The Coda trilogy. Yeah. That would be very nice to get that.
They could write just one book as like a historical text, and then it covers some of the endings to stories that were never finished. That would have been really cool.
Just release Supernatural Encounters as an Essential Legends collection.
Yes.
Can you imagine how many volumes that would take?
Oh my gosh.
Just 10 Essential Legends collection waves
It's
or
just
just
the one.
Supernatural Encounters.
Don't worry, it's
Oh my
just
God.
the one night, nearly 1,000 book chonkers. It's just
Yeah.
1,000 pages.
Yeah.
I saw the gloss on your Callum. I saw the gloss on your copy in your video the other day, and I was like, "Oh my god, how did he get a gloss version?"
That's what I was thinking too.
So all of my paperbacks I have contacted so that they will last better.
Okay.
With
That's
clear
really cool.
contact.
Brennan's relieved.
I was like, oh no, there's a new variant. Okay, I'll just flex. This is my Supernatural Encounters copy shelf. That's all Supernatural Encounters copies. And if that was a glossy Supernatural Encounters cover, I was gonna track down Callum and steal that copy.
Well, technically it is glossy. It's just because I put stuff on it to make it glossy.
Thank goodness it wasn't like sent to you glossy. that would be a new variant.
You need to collect all the variants. You got to get the shiny Supernatural Encounters.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you get the regional variants as well. So you got the American Supernatural Encounters,
the Canadian,
and then you got
the Italian.
Did we get
the
any
Alaskan?
There is actually a Canadian one. Sorry, Kristian.
Well, I was just gonna say, did we get confirmation that they're gonna do new ones at Legends Con 2?
Yes,
they are.
I'm confirming for you.
Yay, that's good to hear. And are they? Are they hardcovers?
That is the plan. I don't have details, but I would be surprised if it wasn't hardcover.
But
auction.
Yeah, the Legends Con 2 special edition.
Yeah. Yes, we have the owner of Legends Con right here, confirming it in the chat.
At the oh, nice. Let me put that up then. At the first Legends Con, though, I will say, Kristian, me and Arthur lined up for like a while because there weren't many. There weren't many. So you're going to have to line up to make sure you get one.
Sign me up for the line, dog. I'm ready.
And I know that
it's also like a practical matter. Like imagine trying to transport that, like just one of those books, let alone that many of that book across state lines.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? An illegal substance?
It's like, why are these like 7 tankers?
My Supernatural Encounters across the border, across the state line.
Why are these 7
pulled
tankers
over?
driving?
We need to check inside the books to make sure there's not transporting drugs.
If you were going to transport drugs in a book, Supernatural Encounters is a big enough one that it would take a while to search that book. Yeah. But yeah, me and Arthur, Kristian, will be first in line. So find where we're standing and wait for the Legends Con 2 copy with us.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Were there 25 paperback and 25 hardcover last time, or was it 50 and 50? I think it was 25 of each, right, Arthur?
I thought it was 50 of each. I do not know. I would like it to be 25 of each.
Yeah, because I didn't see what I perceived to be 50. It seemed like probably less. I don't know if
there were a lot of boxes, and I think there were 4 copies per box.
Yeah, we saw these huge boxes.
Didn't put all the boxes there, so who knows?
Maybe. Well, we were. Me and Arthur were like scouting this out, especially Arthur, and we were like seeing the boxes. And Arthur came up to me and he was like, "I think those are the Supernatural Encounters boxes." And I was like, "Oh, those are pretty big boxes. We should be good." But then when we realized when we were like, how big is Supernatural Encounters? Oh yeah, there's only gonna be like 3 or 4 books in each box. We were like, oh shoot, we gotta line up. Yeah.
You need to print like a lot of the Rings omnibus with the tiny print in it, so that more fits in the smaller form.
I'm still campaigning for a mass market paperback edition so that I can put it in my mass market paperback timeline because I'm OCD about things like being the same height. So I need right here to have like 4 volumes or 5 volumes of Supernatural Encounters in mass market paperback or something. Just fit it in there.
Hopefully someday.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Maybe they can change the colors on those 2 dragons. Have like 5 different colored dragons.
Oh. Or imagine how cool like what you could do with the spines lining up could be. You could have like you
could do it like the covers of Tales of the Jedi, the ones that all link together to create a tapestry. That would have been really cool.
Oh, that would be nice. Sorry, everyone, for the side topic of supernatural encounters collecting. But back to what Robert was saying on his reflection of the last 10 years and the next 10. And we'll, as Marcel would say, we'll then get our Chubbies out of here.
I would say that.
Yeah, I know.
Brendan, can I just say I'm incredibly envious of your shelves.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to be able to have had parents who were supportive of my hobby of reading. So yeah, very thankful for that.
I can't live somewhere and not have a bookshelf.
I feel that. I feel that to my core.
Yeah.
The gaps between my shelves aren't all the same height, so not all of them have enough space to fit hardbacks, which is annoying.
Yeah, I like the adjustable shelves are pretty nice. Yeah.
I think that my parents have a bookshelf like that, and it's like, okay, at least it's not for something like this with a big timeline. We can put cookbooks in one shelf and then something else in another.
Oh, and Sky River Chronicles. Yes, I did get Yes, I did get HK51, and I'm assuming Marcel did as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
I never really got around to it.
Actually, I can't remember. Either I did or I'm missing like one piece and I have to redo one of the flashpoints to get that piece. But either way, I'm pretty sure I did it. It's been a while.
Doesn't the HK droid show up in like that Galaxies game with Obi-Wan as well? Like Shadows of Obi-Wan?
Probably.
Yeah, Galaxies was off the chain, and I kind of love it for
HK is just so popular, he'd appear everywhere that he's allowed to.
Yeah. HK's like the Ahsoka Tano of KOTOR. Just showing up everywhere.
But he's just so much better than Ahsoka, though.
Yeah.
Trials of Obi-Wan, apparently it's called.
I'd like Ahsoka more if she called Sky Guy Meatbag instead of Sky Guy.
Oh my god, that would instantly elevate her character.
Can you imagine? Anakin's just like, hey...
Listen here, Sky Guy. Listen here, meatbag. It just changes the entire
I just want to do an edit where you replace every line of Ahsoka's with a line from HK.
No, Anakin's just like, listen here, Snips, and she's like, listen here, meatbag. It's just the comedy writes itself.
Yeah.
But Robert, any final thoughts? And yeah.
Well, it's been 10 years since the EU ended, but I've been pleasantly surprised by the fact that, see, I would have thought that EU fans would be of a certain age or older. And gradually aging as we get further and further away from the point where it was ended. But I've been pleasantly surprised by how many new fans there seem to be, you and Arthur included.
Yeah.
And that's very encouraging. And
absolutely.
And so, look, say what you will about the Clone Wars, the 2008 series, but I think it did get a lot of people into Star Wars who weren't previously. And I think it's a fair assumption that some of them probably then went on to explore the EU.
That's exactly it, Robert, for myself. And to get a bit more specific, going back to talking about Maul earlier, I saw Maul in the Solo movie, figured I should watch the Clone Wars, enjoyed having additional Star Wars content, read some Disney books, which leads to EU books, if you have any common sense. So there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very good point.
Your
And-
wibbly wobbly ziggy zaggy TIE fighters will lead to the EU.
I like that trilogy. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Yeah, that. Well,
But
you
the
liked
first
it
Star
when
Wars
you
books
read
I
it
read,
before
so-
X-wing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes back to Arthur's theory for how to read the EU. You start with Aftermath, you end with X. You build your way up to X-wing.
I wonder what
Yes.
that says. I liked Aftermath, but they are the first Star Wars books I read. So, I guess that.
After you
Remember
read
how they were
Supernatural
labeled
Encounters,
Journey to the Force Awakens?
Yeah.
after Supernatural Encounters, Arthur, read Aftermath like directly after it. Like last page of Supernatural Encounters. Now it's time for some Hercule Jerkily Wibbly Wobbly.
Yeah, the books are weird. They're in. I don't know if we all remember this, but they're in like present tense. It's really weird. But it's cool.
Oh. That
I
would
don't
be
remember
strange.
much about it other than I don't like it.
There is a.
Actually, I think the droid was an okay idea. That was about it. The reprogrammed
Yeah,
B1 battle droid.
I remember. I think the battle droid might be the only thing I remember from that
Exactly.
trilogy. But yeah, that's a cool idea. Bring him into the EU, and we'll.
There you go.
You
We'll be ready.
You just have someone in the RPG that goes, "Hey, why don't I reprogram this B1 battle droid?"
Yeah.
They do the same thing.
That was one of my biggest beefs with the new canon when it was first coming out, was the idea that the Empire got destroyed after 1 year versus with the EU, like the like long conflict afterwards was.
That sounds like the same issue that like the Eternal Empire has, because apparently they defeated both the Sith Empire and the Republic in 6 months. And
They did
Knights of the
indeed.
Fallen Empire.
Yeah, they
And I'm
did
like,
indeed. Although I
on a
guess you
minute.
can kind well, first of all, I didn't care for that at all, but you can kind of explain
No.
it by the fact that the Empire and the Republic had just completely devastated one another through years and years.
They were
of
at their
warfare.
weakest
Yes.
point, probably.
Yeah.
But still, they had 5 years to play with, and then they went, no, the first 6 months. Anyway, that's fun.
When people ask me, like, one time, one of my family members, I'm not going to name names, but or assign roles, but one of my family members asked me, like, what is the point of stories after Return of the Jedi? And I was just like, what I said is, when Caesar got stabbed, do you think just like the entire empire just stopped right there? Like, that's the end. No, there's fallout, there's splintering, there's factions.
There was no empire before Caesar.
Okay, well,
The
then
empire.
my
And then
grasp
Caesar
on
was a
Roman
god.
history is poorer than I'd previously believed it to be.
Caesar
but
was a
regardless-
Republican general. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, I didn't realize this was political encounters. I'm just kidding. But,
Roman encounters.
I just thought of something funny, but yeah, I'll tell you guys after the stream. But that being said, there's not, just because Emperor Palpatine died doesn't mean the story ends, right? The Empire's just not going to be like, oh, he's dead, I surrender. No, when there's people like dedicated to a propaganda and a doctrine, they're going to keep fighting for it. So it only makes sense that there should be
Are
stories.
you
after
talking
that.
about us now?
No. Oh, the EU, the EU fandom. The EU fandom. Oh, the EU's gone. Let's fight, boys.
Did you just
no,
compare us to the Empire?
This is
that
not
what
a
you
call.
did?
This is not a call to action. Marcel is a master of
some of the
mincing my
terminology
words.
is very similar, isn't it? Because it's like, long live the EU.
Well, I mean, I do Coruscant accent.
Oh my! What have we done?
Just because Palpatine, aka the EU, was abruptly ended, aka decanonized, doesn't mean that the people that loved Palpatine, aka the EU, are going to go into. I see your ploy.
That is a fair point, and I think
Can I be the warlord Zinj of the EU movement? Can I just?
And then you get the Bantamira specific fans as one of the warlords.
Yeah, if you're
TCW fans as another warlord, and then the ones that hate TCW as another warlord.
Wait, does that mean one faction's gonna destroy another faction, like with gas? Just come in and destroy all the other warlords?
Yeah, who's Admiral Darla in this metaphor?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Timothy Zahn, because he's trying to join them.
I was about to say, can I be Triclops or Hissa?
Oh, I was gonna say, who's Triclops?
But I gotta eat my refried bean meat, dog.
He's gonna be the Princess Leia human replica droid.
Oh God. What's Billy Lord doing these days?
I've learned that I will never talk around Marcel again because he will find a way to make a joke. No, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. So on that note, we are the Empire. It's been 10 years of waiting, and it'll now be 10 years of rebuilding further, I guess.
Well, if we continue with the analogy, the Empire then ended up reforming into the Fel Empire.
I was about to say, yeah.
And the Fel Empire, the Fel Empire was a good empire, ultimately.
So who's Gilad Palian?
Matt Wilkins.
That's big shoes to fill.
Yeah, you never know.
Well, I was thinking, if just going with this analogy, because I don't want Brennan to end the stream, but going with this analogy, it is like that they sign like a peace accord, and then there's like a little Imperial remnant in the side there, but then it gets like brought into the Galactic Alliance.
Yeah.
And
who are the Searook in this metaphor? Is that like non-canon fans over in the corner just chilling, doing their own thing?
The Searook in this metaphor are
just Infinities fans.
Those people that jumped on the bandwagon just to hate new canon to suck the life out of the EU.
Can't
built a new universe.
At last, we will reveal ourselves.
That was Brennan's video today. It was just one giant subliminal message.
So after 1,000 years of the EU being sidelined, we will at last reveal ourselves. We will have our revenge.
It's the Malgus quote. We have returned.
You know, like because Arthur will know this because Aftermath is his favorite book, but in how the Palpatine robots come and they're like execute Operation Cinder, it's just like those robots, but instead they just play Brennan's like 6-hour video nonstop.
I think my video was just Comp Nor propaganda, to be honest.
Comp Nor propaganda.
Yeah.
So your video? Wait, so your video's TCW now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I put the picture of me in the Filoni hat back on. I'm Filoni in this analogy. Yeah. But yeah, there. See, it's true.
I don't know why the idea of the Operation Cinder people with the looping 6-hour video is like, it's just got me dead. I'm
They're just standing there slack-jawed watching it for 6 hours.
Just Marcel's pops up. So the reason I like the EU is
the robots, the droids have set them up like Clockwork Orange where they have to watch it.
What the EU means to me.
Another thing, there could very easily be people who go, okay, all my friends are watching the Clone Wars, I reckon I'll give it a go, and then they type in the Clone Wars on Disney Plus and go, oh, what's this? There are 2 Clone Wars series. What's this other one?
Yeah, absolutely. It could be an analogy and something that myself included, I've been thinking about this for a while, that it might be a positive, but something that I originally thought might be a negative. I think it's fair to say that a lot of us EU fans don't like it when the Disney canon has like a show or a property that's named for the EU.
Yes.
Yes.
Like that irritates me because I feel like, oh, you're burying our stories. But could this be construed as a positive, as Robert suggests? Like someone's like, "Ooh, I want to learn more about Ahsoka," searches Tales of the Jedi, ends up like reading a bunch of comics and is like, "Ooh, Exar Kun, Ulic Keldroma," you know? Could it be a positive avenue? Like it feels like a slap in the face, but could it be helpful?
I mean,
like,
everybody's
maybe?
different, I
So-
guess, because I have a casual friend who he's like trying to get me to watch Tales of the Jedi. I eventually did, but I would tell him, "Oh, you know, Tales of the Jedi, they're kind of getting inspiration from this comic," and he's like, "I don't care. I'm gonna watch Tales of the Jedi is this 3D animated thing. That's Tales of the Jedi to me." I'm like, "Oh, but what, you know, this other thing's kind of cool," and he's like, "No, shut up." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
And I just
Well,
checked, and if you just search Tales of the Jedi, Wikipedia comes up with the Tales of the Jedi comics on the 6th search result.
Makes sense. Sounds about right.
Right.
So it's still on the first page at least.
Yeah, if someone scrolls a little bit, then they'll become an EU fan.
Hopefully.
And they're like, "Oh, maybe these comics adapted the TV show. Hang on a minute."
Yeah.
I can imagine it being
Yeah.
a double-edged sword because, yes, there's that, and I hope that is the case for some people. But there are also people like Marcel, to name one, who see the fact that they've used this name and go, "Nope."
hmm
Yes, I'm gonna go around like bars like that guy Sleaze Bagano and just be like, "You want to buy some Legends?" I'm just gonna start like throwing Legends books and Tales of the
Yes.
Jedi on the
Marcel Sleaza Bagano.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
is the
wonderful.
other thing of like, it's people that the extra obscure stuff will not come up in the search results. So if you're looking up something that is a bit more obscure from the EU, then you won't find that just from a search result from the same title at all.
Someone was telling me that if Tales of the Jedi in the title of I have like an EU chronological review series that I've kind of fallen off on doing, but I do intend to finish it, just maybe by 2040. So someone pointed out to me the ones with Tales of the Jedi in the title got more views because like there's that crossover of name, there's that name recognition.
That is interesting.
And that's interesting.
And more
That's
people
certainly
would probably
interesting.
search Tales of the Jedi when the TV show's around.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
interesting. 'cause-
remember the thought experiment of maybe all YouTube EU content should just not call it EU content.
Yeah, just call it Star Wars.
Not saying that's the right choice, but it might be worth thinking that through. You trick some Disney canon fans or some casuals into viewing your content, they're gonna be like, "This sounds awesome."
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that could be.
Sounds so underhand. You trick them into, "Hey guys."
Right, they don't know what's good.
Then again,
It's like a gateway.
it's not lying. You're just calling it Star Wars as it was always intended to be.
Yeah, true. But
No, it's
I like the way it's
radical approach, but
it's described as like a buddy like getting you into like a gateway drug. It's like, ooh, just take a smoke, just take
Whoa.
a puff, and then by the end they've like spent
got into those death
$10,000
sticks.
on books.
You got like Callum in Australia going to like bookstores and being like, "You call that Star Wars? This is Star Wars," and he like pulls out like,
You want to buy some EU?
No, when the Young Jedi Knight show comes out, that's about Ahsoka. Callum will just go with his pile of Young Jedi Knights books to all the places. Yeah.
"I'm gonna cosplay."
The problem
as
is they're not
Vima Dabota."
reprinting them.
When the Supernatural Encounters Ahsoka show hits Disney Plus in 2026, we can go around with our huge copy and be like, "Hey, you like that show? You're gonna like this."
I'm gonna cosplay as Vima Debota when she like hands Leia the lightsaber. And she's like,
Yes.
like stand on like a street corner and just like hand someone like a Legends book.
And he just poses a homeless person, but you're giving out books on the side. You're Vima Debota, just a homeless person on the side.
That's
It's
right.
like, please, sir, take a book.
That's right.
That's so funny. I'm picturing Marcel just in the cloak, just perched on the side of some corner, just with a stack of Star Wars books.
Just a basket of mass market paperbacks.
Twin
He's
Sons
giving out-
Foundation would be able to make it happen.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Twin Sons is doing great work. So I guess we can end on a really great note where we can say, hey, Twin Sons is trying to donate to 10 places this year. That's really cool. That's really ambitious. They're doing great work. If you have any means to be able to, buy them a book, send them some funds so that they can give books to further generations of Star Wars fans. These are primarily children's hospitals and places where these will be the next generation of Star Wars fans, hopefully. In 10 years, will there be YouTube channels of people talking Star Wars EU and they're like, hey, Twin Sons brought me a book? That would be cool. Marcel's like, no.
No, of course there will be.
I would be interested
that would be really cool.
Hear if them donating books to the kids and all that would actually have like a success story of like, yeah, it's all great. Like the kids probably still really enjoyed the books, but if there was actually people that really got into the EU, like after a few years later, and that too, to hear stories of that.
I've heard Brian talking on Matt's channel about how they went back to a place and someone was really excited to get more. So
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's making fans, and it's certainly a noble effort. So go over to Twin Sons
And it all
Foundation and help them
started
out.
because it was like, stop complaining, do something.
Yeah, and this is really
there we
positive.
go.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great.
Yeah, I have to say I helped organize 2 donation events last year in Toronto, and honestly, like it was probably the best thing I did all year, other than going to Legends Con. But it was the second best thing that I did all year.
Second best thing you did all year.
And
Nice.
no, it was the best thing I did all year, hands down. And I just felt, I mean, like if there's an opportunity, reach out to Twin Sons like in your area or something like that to get something off the ground, because I know that they would love to have more locations locked down, even if it's not for this year, even if it's for like a future year or something like that. They would love to have more locations locked down. They do really great work.
I see if I can
I'm out
rope in
of-
Jeff.
Yeah, an Australia one, that would be great. That would be great. You and Jeff could do it, and
It's possible.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Mhm.
I know that I intend on getting involved with them maybe after college for me, because I know I'm busy with all that. But afterwards, I'm definitely hoping to get involved with Twin Sons, because it just seems like a really wonderful thing to do. So yeah, I'm sure they appreciate all the support over there. So yeah, and go to Legends Con too. Say hi to Brian and Dylan. They're absolutely wonderful in person, wonderful human beings, great to talk to. Infectious laughter, both of them. I loved spending time with both of them. They're great guys, and so yeah, it'll be great.
And I think it's
It'll be
worth
great.
mentioning. We look forward to new unabridged audiobooks as well.
The ELC new audiobooks. That's
The
great.
good thing to come out of that is there's so many that were abridged, and now they're slowly having unabridged
It's
versions,
wonderful.
which is awesome.
I know so many people who are only EU readers via audiobooks. So it is wonderful that we're getting that. That we take our wins where we can get them as EU fans, right?
Yeah.
When a new
for
action
sure.
figure gets announced, that's a win. When a new Funko Pop, a new audio drama, literally anything, we'll take it as a win. And hopefully in the next 10 years, we'll continue to get these wins. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up, unless anyone has another funny joke about the Empire being the expanded universe fan base. We got any more analogies?
Palpatine was a good guy because he was preparing to fight the Yuzhan Vong, right? So
I have heard that one.
So everything that we've been doing with the EU is preparing to fight the big bad that will destroy the new canon.
Don't you mean the Grisk?
I don't even know what they are.
I barely even remember them, and I read a whole trilogy about them.
Oh man,
do they just frisk you as you go through everywhere?
You know the like Uncle Sam wants you for the army posters? Imagine there's like a Grisk. We want you to join the Grisk. You'll read a whole trilogy about us. You won't know anything about us. Join. It's like their advertisement. Yeah.
It's like I read Interference yesterday when I streamed a bit and on YouTube, and it's like, yeah, Captain Goodvalor, he's lying to everyone and hyping everything up, and then the Mandalorians rock up and go, "No one's here."
The John Jackson Miller short story?
Yeah.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful short story. Yeah.
So much
it's great stuff. It's great stuff. And we'll see everyone later on. Thank you so much, Kristian, Robert, Callum, Arthur, Marcel, and our fallen hero, Alex, for all joining on the stream. Thanks to everyone who's been in the comments. It's been great talking to everyone all day right now for this stream and earlier with the project. Thanks to all the support on the project. This has been a really positive, really fun day, as it should be, because we have a lot to celebrate with the Star Wars EU. So thanks to everyone who's partaken in the celebration, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, Ray.